looked like things were comfortable in the 8th inning when Jose Valentin came to bat.
Well, Jose Valentin already had a couple of RBIs earlier in the game. That gave him 4 for the night, and a seemingly comfortable 8-4 lead with Juan Sanchez coming into pitch.
But then Corey Koski hit a 3-run homer. Damian Miller followed with one of his own, and what followed was a little conflagration.
Well, it was Juan Sanchez then hit Brady Clark in the back. Tim Cheetah, the home plate umpire, coming out. He ejects Sanchez, and out comes Willie Randolph. Paul LaDuca was trying to state his case as well. You could make a case that Sanchez did that on purpose, but it's really hard to do that. Why are you going to put the winning run on base?
So Willie got himself ejected, and Paul LaDuca took care of the rest.
Well, LaDuca dropping the bat there, he apologized afterwards. He said, I didn't want to show up any pitchers, but the emotions got the better of me. It was a dramatic home run and a big one for Paul.
And then Billy Wagner took care of the rest by striking out 3 in the 9th inning, and the Mets had themselves a 9-8 win, a split of the first 2 games of the series. And now this afternoon, they'll have Pedro Martinez on the mound trying to get the rubber game.
Well, Pedro, listen, anytime he goes to the mound, Gary, you give yourself a fighting chance. Doug Davis is going from Milwaukee. He is one of their aces. Ben Sheets is down, so Davis takes over that role right now. But Pedro pitched very well last time out, but Brett Myers just a little bit better in Philadelphia on Tuesday.
And today's pitching matchup brought to you by Budweiser. And so there's Davis, who struggled through the early portion of the season, has pitched a lot better his last 3 starts.
He has. He's gotten a lot better. A lot of walks early on in the season, and this is a strikeout guy who was walking too many, but he's trying to cut down on that right now. He's starting to round into form a little bit, and really he has to for Milwaukee because they need him with Sheets on the sideline right now.
So Pedro Martinez going for his 6th win of the year without a loss. Will take the mound for the Mets, and we'll come back with the first pitch from Miller Park in just a moment. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oops. It's a Robert Goulet moment. Is that all right? You okay? That's great. You're cool. Okay. Think she'll start again? Hope not. Okay. Think she'll start again? New York Mets baseball is brought to you by the all-new 2007 Toyota Camry, a smart way to keep moving forward. By Singular Wireless, raising the bar. By Jeep, check out the #1 selling brand of SUVs in the Northeast. By Lowe's, let's build something together. By Hyundai, take the Hyundai Challenge at thehyundaichallenge.com. And by Budweiser, bright, crisp, clean, pure Budweiser. This is beer. Milwaukee's Miller Park. And more than any other place in Major League Baseball, tailgating is big here. Think of tailgating as a football thing, and they tailgate in some of the worst weather up at Lambeau Field, but they tailgate here at Miller Park as well.
Well, this is also a Green Bay Packer town. I think they're the main story most of the time, Gary, but the Brewers playing pretty good baseball this year, so they've captured the imagination a little bit. Sellout crowd last night, not today, though.
And, of course, it's been Packer weather this week as lefty Doug Davis gets ready to face the Nissan Mets lineup. Jose Valentin getting another start today. Cliff Floyd, a second straight day off. Willie Randolph saying before the game it was more about Floyd than about Valentin's good night that he decided to keep Valentin in the lineup for a second day.
I think Cliff Floyd will be back on Tuesday in St. Louis, but I think Willie wants Cliff to clear his head. I think it's a good idea, too, with a day off tomorrow before that series against the Cardinals starts. I think it's a great idea.
Doug Davis making his 9th start. Started out very poorly. He's been walking the ballpark, 32 walks in 44 innings. But he's kind of kicked it in gear his last 3 starts. Guy who does not throw hard, finesse lefties, sinkers and cutters for the most part. And he will try and keep the ball in on the hands of the right-hand batters as Jose Reyes leads off. Reyes 3 for 9 in the series, hitting at .266. And 30-year-old Doug Davis ready to go. 0-1 to Reyes.
Gary, Jose has a couple of stolen bases in this series, 1 in each game. Prior to that, it had been 13 games between steals, so he really hasn't taken that much advantage of an opportunity out there.
1-1. Reyes, of course, has been much better from the right side than from the left this year. And the Mets have fared very well when they faced left-handed starters this year. This is only the 7th lefty they faced in 37 games, but they're 5-1 in the first 6. And Davis finds the outside corner, 1-2. Kaz Matsui hitting second in the order today with Loduca getting the day off. Hit a game-winning home run, get a day off. But that's been the standard practice for Willie, day game after a night game. And a curveball from Davis, punched foul.
Willie was talking about Loduca, Gary, that later on in the season he will probably go back-to-back with Loduca on certain occasions, give him a start in a night game and come back with him on a day game. So he wants to keep him fully rested early in the year so he can do that.
And it's very important for Loduca as Reyes pops it up. In shallow right, Jeff Jenkins. And that's the first out. Let's look at the defense brought to you by your local Land Rover dealers. Jeff Jenkins has had some problems out in right field, has a strong arm but can be erratic. This Brewer defense in general is not the best around. Second most errors in the National League. But the same 8 on the field for all 3 games for Ned Yost as he keeps his best shortstop, J.J. Hardy, in the dugout going for the offense with Bill Hall. Here's Kaz Matsui with 1 out. Kaz has hit 8 straight games now after going 1 for 5 in the opening game of the series. Chris Woodward played second base yesterday. Matsui is still looking for his first hit as a right-hand batter this year. He's gone 0 for 10. And he lofts one to right. And Jenkins has it 2 away. So 2 up and 2 set aside on fly balls to right.
Well, Doug Davis coming in with the soft stuff, Gary, and so far a couple of soft swings by the Mets have produced 2 fly balls.
Well, here's Beltran, who got the Mets offense started last night with a 3-run homer. Carlos now with 9 home runs, more than half of his total from all of last year when he hit 16. And it has been an entirely different year for Beltran in year 2 as a Met.
Well, much more comfortable with his friend Carlos Delgado here. And the New York.
And this is last night. Second time up. And Beltran with 2 aboard, launching his 9th of the year.
He's really driving pitches that he can drive this year, too.
Changeup from Davis, 1-1.
He had a lot of defensive swings last year and really was more of a timid ball player. Now, the injury obviously set him back a little bit, and I think he feels much more comfortable being healthy this year and obviously producing a lot more.
And Davis finds the outside corner, 1-2, with Delgado waiting next. 1-2 to Beltran. He drives one foul. But the interesting thing about it is you look at Beltran's walk totals, on base percentage, and it works against what you would expect. You would expect with Delgado behind him that he would walk less, that he'd get more strikes, but the opposite has proved to be the case.
Well, Beltran has said that he's staying away from pitches that really hurt him last year, breaking balls on the outside part of the plate or just off the plate.
Hits the curveball to short. Bill Hall in front of it. And a high throw, but fielder stayed on the bag. And Doug Davis has himself a 1-2-3 inning. So Pedro takes the mound for the bottom of the first with no score. Pedro Martinez takes the mound for his 8th start of the year. And look at this. He hasn't even started pitching yet. And that lower pant leg and the whole top of his shoe covered in dirt.
It's always covered in dirt. It's usually ripped by the time he will leave the game, some hopefully 6 or 7 innings in. But, you know, that is Pedro's torque off the mound, off the rubber. And it puts an extreme strain on that toe.
Here's the Nissan lineup that he'll face. Carlos Lee has done the best against Pedro, but it's Prince Fielder who's hurt the Mets the most in this series. 3 home runs in the first 2 games as Ned Yost runs out the same lineup as he did in the first 2 games of the series, and why not? They scored 17 runs in those 2 games. And there are Pedro's numbers for the season. Trying today for his 203rd career win against 84 losses. He made 1 start here at Miller Park last year, the only one he's ever made in Milwaukee, and it was an odd game. He gave up only 3 hits, but a couple of damaging home runs, and he gave up 5 runs in 7 innings, but managed to squeak out a 7-5 win. And Ricky Weeks takes a strike. Weeks hit a home run last night off Jeremy Gonzalez, his 2nd of the year, after he hit 13 as a rookie last season. There's Gonzalez, who pitched a credible game last night. And Pedro misses with a curveball, 1-1.
You wonder, Gary, too, how much Pedro takes to the mound pressure-wise as far as getting a win here today with the 2 holes in the rotation.
Another curve, and Beltran started back, now racing in. Can he get there? Slides, and he makes the catch. Well, Beltran was fooled off the crack of the bat, but had enough speed to get under it and make the sliding grab 1 away.
Jose Reyes out there to help as well and avoided the collision, but Beltran, first reaction, probably a step back, sliding catch right there. A nice job of recovering.
That's something that Beltran would not have been able to do 10 days ago, but I think he's got full confidence in that hamstring now.
I think that Beltran, listen, he's going to play deep center field anyway. And he's going to be coming in on balls. He's much more comfortable coming in than he is going back.
Here's Bill Hall hitting 2nd in the order and attacks the fastball and fouls it off.
Well, back to the point about Pedro, Gary. Tom Glavine has said, listen, I'm not bothered by any extra pressure to go out and win because we're a couple of guys short in the rotation right now with guys filling in. You wonder how Pedro feels about that as well as the ace of the staff.
All fouls off the cutter, 0-2. Well, you know, you could sense on this ball club after the Mets lost in Pedro's start in Philadelphia Tuesday night that there was a sense of urgency the next day that they had to win with Glavine.
Right.
Because if you lose the 2 games that those two start right now with the state the rotation is in, you can't feel very good about your chances to avoid a longer losing streak. 1-2, 2-2 to Hall.
And Pedro has said, listen, I feel pressure every time I go out there. I try to feel 100%, do my best. And, you know, he's kind of deflected it a little bit, but you have to wonder whether it's in the back of his mind when he's on the mound.
On 2-2, Hall swings and misses at the fastball. 91 miles an hour from Pedro, so he's dialing it up early, and he's retired the first 2.
Unhittable pitch there, just off the plate.
And Eddie, Pedro's had some life on his fastball these last couple of starts that we haven't always seen in his year and 2 months as a Met.
I think at times, you know, he's had a hip problem in the past, and that has bothered him, but I think he's pretty much feeling okay right now, and he's getting a lot of drive off the mound.
Jeff Jenkins takes a strike. So Pedro getting it up to 92 in the first inning. And generally, you know, when Pedro hits in the 90s, it's later in a game when he's looking for a strikeout, trying for a fast finish. But he keeps on popping 90-mile-an-hour fastballs, and it's 1-1 to Jenkins. So that'll tell you Pedro's feeling strong today. Pitching on regular rest after going 7 innings on Tuesday night in Philly. And Jenkins takes the cutter for a strike, 1-2.
And I think the thought is, with the Yankees series looming on the horizon next weekend, Gary, that they'll give Pedro an extra day. He will probably pitch Saturday, followed by Tom Glavine on Sunday.
1-2 to Jenkins. He got a piece of the fastball. Let's take a look at the Mets defense. Brought to you by Land Rover. We've already seen the Land Rover in center field. Beltran. David Wright's played every inning of every game. One of only 2 players in the National League to do that. 2-2 to Jenkins. Pedro Feliz of the Giants is the other. Last year, Willie kept saying he was going to get David a day off and never did.
I don't know when that day off is coming.
2-2 to Jenkins. Curveball just missed. 3-2.
Pedro trying to bite that outside corner.
Home plate umpire Ted Barrett.
Might have been a little bit low as well.
Payoff to Jenkins. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a cutter. Pedro with back-to-back strikeouts, and he gets the Brewers in order in the opening inning. Helped out by Carlos Beltran's sliding grab. Pedro pitches a 1-2-3 first. We go to the second, no score.
Jay Horowitz, telephone.
Carlos Delgado will lead off the second for New York. You see the pink wristband, and Carlos sporting a pink bat as well, all part of the Major League Baseball commemoration of Mother's Day and raising awareness of the importance of fighting breast cancer. Delgado with 13 home runs. Look at that. Bluffed a bunt.
Wow.
Well, he got the overshift on, and so Carlos at least trying to put it in the Brewers' mind that he might lay one down. Wouldn't that be fascinating? You got the third baseman, Koski, playing a shortstop position with 3 infielders on the right side. Not bunting. Pops it up. Hall and Koski, and Hall has it. 1 away. So Doug Davis has retired the first 4. Major League Baseball joining with the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation for the Strikeout Challenge. It's a week-long program culminating today, creating awareness about breast cancer and the importance of early detection, also raising funds to fight the disease. And of course, we send out our best Mother's Day wishes to all the moms. David Wright with 1 out and nobody on, and takes the cutter from Davis 1-0.
It's a great cause that they're doing this for. My question would be is, if you have a big day with a pink bat, do you keep using it?
Why not?
Take it with you?
No reason why not. There are 6 Mets using pink bats today, and it's interesting because they're different shades of pink.
Yeah.
Some of them are a bright pink, and then you've got more subdued tones. And that's pink with pine tar. That's a great shot right there. You got David's pink bat with the pine tar halfway up. Nothing's pure.
That's your average pink bat right there.
3-0 to Wright. Davis has been walking people all season, but he throws a strike 3-1. Davis has averaged 6.6 walks per 9 innings.
Well, a lot of that was early. He has been better, as you mentioned, Gary, his last 3 starts, but he is kind of a nibble guy. He's not the kind of guy who's going to blow you away, so he's got to have his control and command.
And he misses ball 4, and Wright draws the walk, and the Mets have the first base runner of the game. Take the train to the game. The Long Island Railroad and the Mets are offering LIRR riders a $10 ticket discount for select games throughout the season. Visit Mets.com for details. So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Xavier Nady. Nady had a couple of hits last night, including a double. Now up to 294. 0-1 to Nady.
They were playing the great catches of the week, and obviously Xavier Nady saw his ball being caught over and over and over again by Aaron Rowe in a tremendous catch in Philadelphia. I asked him, how does it feel to see that over and over? He says, just a reminder to get back in the weight room as soon as I can. Just didn't have enough strength to get it out there.
2 more feet.
That's it.
Davis misses 1-1. The question is, who felt worse? Rowan, who broke his nose and the orbital bone in his face, or Nady, who got robbed of 3 RBI?
I know, yeah. Well, Xavier could have broken the game open right there, and obviously on a short night, too. But I think Rowan is the worst for wear, to say the least, on the disabled list. Really banged up.
2-1. Well, last year, David Wright won the ESPY for Best Defensive Play of the Year. I think Rowan's got the early lead there. That was just an extraordinary play, and show of courage too, because he knew he was going to face plant into that railing.
The only guy that I saw that had no regard for himself going into a wall was in person was Freddie Lynn with the Red Sox, who slammed into the center field wall in Fenway.
2-1 to Nady, and he fights off the breaking ball. 2-2.
Made a great catch, held on as well, and took a massive hit. But you don't see a lot of guys that first of all can hold on to the ball, but second of all have the conviction to go after it that way, knowing that they're going to take the hit that he did.
It was Pete Reiser with the Brooklyn Dodgers, whose career was shortened by his propensity to slam into walls. But of course, back then in the 40s and 50s, the walls weren't padded. Now most of them are. So you can be a little more reckless going into the wall unless you're playing at Wrigley Field, where it's still brick. And the ivy does not cushion the brick all that much.
Not at all. And I wonder how Aaron Rowan feels sitting at home knowing that the padding was there and was going to be installed on this road trip that the Phillies are on. That's got to be tough.
He had asked for that padding, and it had been sitting in the ballpark at Citizens Bank Park since Tuesday. And there you see the padding here at Miller Park, which is now standard just about everywhere. And it makes you wonder why they hadn't padded that railing before. I mean, at Shea for years you had the wooden fence, and Rusty Staub hurt his shoulder running into that fence, and it took till the early 90s when a Phillies outfielder named Ron Jones ran into that wall and wrecked his knee for the Mets to pad the fence. 2-2 to Nady, and the changeup misses 3-2. But now it's standard everywhere that outfield walls are padded, and it helps the game because it allows outfielders to be that much more reckless. Let's see if Wright's going with 3-2 and 1 out. Davis not a strikeout pitcher, but he's not going, and it's ball 4. So Davis, who earlier this season walked 9 in a game against Cincinnati, walks back-to-back hitters here in the second, and the Mets have 2 aboard. In case you were in a cave the last few days, this is the catch. Ouch. Ooh, still hurts every time you see it. But just an extraordinary play to sacrifice his body like that and then hang on to the ball.
A gash on his nose, a gash under his eye, and I imagine a couple of shiners there as well. Incredible catch.
Here's Ramon Castro with 2 aboard, and he takes a strike from Davis.
And he brings something to that Phillies team, which is very interesting, which they lacked, I think, last year. Billy Wagner talked about maybe a lack of cohesion in the clubhouse, but they lack some gamers, and they have a couple now, in Aaron Rowan and Chase Utley, second baseman.
1-1 to Castro, is making his 10th start, and Ramon has certainly given the Mets a boost on the days Loduca has taken off. Wright at second, Nady at first, and 1 out. No score, we're in the second. Mets looking for their first hit against Doug Davis. And Castro takes a strike, 1-2. And Davis has not always had this kind of control problem. See, last year, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, not horrible, and he's come close to doubling that this year, and the strikeouts are way down. So it's not been a good start to the season for Davis, who's really been counted on now with Ben Sheets out to take a larger role in that Brewers rotation. And a good block by Miller of the curveball, 2-2.
Oh, you wonder too whether he's lost a little something off the fastball, because if I remember correctly last year, Gary, he came more with the fastball. He's been more finesse this year, and he certainly hasn't had the command of those breaking pitches this year. As you said, it's almost twice as much, 3.8 up to 6.6.
His key tends to be his cutter, but we've seen him throw more changeups and keep the ball away from the right-hand batters early on here. 2-2 now to Castro. And he goes out of the strike zone to foul one off, still 2-2. Gary Cohen, Ed Coleman, Chris Cotter with you from Miller Park in Milwaukee, and our thanks to Ed for joining us today and filling in for the ailing Keith Hernandez.
We hope Mex is better, in better voice.
And people asked me after the game last night, who was that you were working with last night? Keith toughed it out last night. He said, I played like this. There's no reason I can't do this with a little frog in my throat. It became a bigger frog. And Castro keeps the at-bat alive.
Well, we know Keith to be a prince, but he was more of a frog last night. There's no question about that.
Very nice. Nicely done. Jose Valentino had the big night last night. Hoping to parlay that into more here today, standing on deck. Davis, a very methodical worker, particularly with men on base. Two to Castro, lifted to right. Jenkins, a long run, he'll get there, and he's got it. 2 away.
Now, that's the third time that Doug Davis has gotten a Met player to reach out for that breaking ball on the outside corner of the plate and pop it into right field. He got Reyes and Matsui that way in the first, and he got Castro there.
So Davis has 2 out. And now here's Valentin, the former Milwaukee Brewer. Spent the first 8 years of his career here in Milwaukee playing shortstop. Got only his 3rd start of the year last night with Willie Randolph. Wanted to give Cliff Floyd some time to clear his head, and boy, did it pay dividends. A 2-run single and a 2-run homer. So Valentin, who had just 2 runs batted in going into last night, now has 6. And Floyd getting a second day off today, and a third one, of course, with an off day tomorrow. And Valentin takes a strike.
I asked Jose what he was most happy about yesterday, thinking it would be the 4 RBIs and chipping in the win. He says, "No, that we're in Miller Park and there's a roof over this place." He says he remember because he was here when it was County Stadium. He started his career.
I'll tell you what, the weather has been so miserable here in Milwaukee all weekend. Sinker, 1-1 to Valentin.
He said we'd be playing a triple header if possible today, because I don't know if you would have gotten either game in Friday night or Saturday night.
Well, in Boston today, they got rained out for the second straight day. They played 5 innings Friday night, rain out Saturday and Sunday, and it just gives you an idea what a difference a roof makes. 1-1 to Valentin, 2 out and 2 on. And he rips one to left, but Lee going back, and it's over his head. Lee misjudged it. Wright will score. Here comes Nady. Nady for the plate. He scores a 2-run double for Valentin, and the Mets take a 2-0 lead. Well, Valentin hit it hard, but it's a ball Carlos Lee probably should have caught. But it sailed over his head, and Valentin drives home 2 more.
Well, the RBIs are just flowing now that the spigot has been turned on for Jose Valentin, but that is not a good route by Carlos Lee in left field. I think he thought he could get to the gap and cut that off. Good swing put on the ball by Valentin, but Lee, you could see, start to fade back immediately. He knew that was going to be over his head as he misjudged it and just got a piece of his glove on the ball.
So 2-0 New York. That's the first hit for either side. Here's Pedro, and he takes outside. Well, we've been talking all through this series about how this Brewer team is a bunch of sluggers and is not necessarily the best defensive team in the league. And Carlos Lee, who's had a great year with the bat, did not play that ball well. 2-0 to Pedro. It's interesting, though. Ned Yost comes out of the Bobby Cox School of Managing, and he's a stickler for small ball, fundamental baseball, and this team is just the opposite of that. Pedro takes a strike.
Well, I think Ned is also smart enough to know that you go with what you have, and he has some sluggers here. He has guys that are going to kick the ball around a little bit. Jeff Jenkins strikes out way too much. He's amongst the strikeout leaders in the league, but he can knock the ball out of the park, give you RBIs, and play pretty good defense.
2-2 to Pedro. Pedro has 2 hits this year, and he's driven in a run.
One good thing about Valentin coming to life, Gary, is that helps the bench. When Valentin goes back to the bench, the bench has been sometimes a sore spot for the Mets. And getting production off that bench, well, Valentin is now starting to chip in a little bit.
One guy off the bench who had really been producing is Chavez.
Yep.
Surprisingly so. But Valentin's been that prime pinch hitter off the bench and had really struggled in that role. Curveball, and Pedro strikes out. Davis has his first strikeout, but the walk's hurting Doug Davis as Jose Valentin cashes a pair with a double, and it's 2-0 New York. 4-1 Oakland. Poor win. Jose Valentin, 6 RBIs in the last 2 days, and this was the first run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin', and for good measure, it not only produced the first run of the game, but the second as well. And so Pedro Martinez off to a 2-0 lead thanks to Valentin's double. It is Mother's Day, and I think we all share that sentiment. And Carlos Lee launches one down the line. Foul. Well, Lee trying to make up for misjudging the fly ball. It went into the second deck, but foul.
Trying to get one of those two back that he might feel responsible for.
And Pedro comes back with a cutter, 0-2. And at least they didn't call this one a home run. Mets got robbed last night on a ball that was called a home run that clearly was not.
Tough call.
Prince Fielder.
Tough call, but I think one that obviously was blown. And I thought when the umpiring crew got together, Gary, that they would reverse that, but not so.
There's Fielder on deck, and Lee lifts one foul. Well, the thing about it, Eddie, we were talking about this on television last night. I don't know how you guys saw it over there, but the ball hit the padding in that right field corner underneath the foul pole. It didn't even hit the yellow line. It hit the blue below the yellow line and then dropped almost straight down. Curveball looped into center, and Reyes makes the running play. Good range on that bloop by Reyes. That ball netted high in the air, and Reyes had to hurry back to grab it one away.
Well, Reyes went out to help Carlos Beltran the last time, and that was on Ricky Weeks' ball, but Beltran made the catch there. This time he went back, makes the catch.
So here is Fielder, who's hit 3 home runs in the first 2 games of the series with an asterisk. 9th in the league in batting, hitting at .328. And he takes a strike, and here's what happened last night. He thought it was gone, but you can clearly see that it didn't go out. And the fact that 4 umpires failed to recognize that and failed to understand that if it hit the pole, it would have bounced much further back than hitting the padding. Somehow they all got it wrong. 2-1.
Well, what was confusing is that Laz Diaz, who was the second base umpire, had the best view at it. He said that it bounced up and then hit the pole and bounced back, which it didn't do.
No.
So that was the explanation that was given to Willie Randolph, and I guess further confusing matters.
Fielder gets out ahead of one and launches one toward downtown Kenosha. That ball almost went above all the seats in the upper deck on the first base side. This is a big, strong young man, 22 years old. And he takes a changeup, 3-2.
Those are people who came to the game and sat in those seats and said, we'll never get a ball up here, and they just got one.
Good for them.
Thanks to Prince Fielder.
Pedro's retired the first 4 to face him. And he misses with a changeup. And Fielder draws a walk. First base runner against Pedro. And now here's Corey Koski.
The beauty of Fielder, Gary, is how well he hits left-handed pitching, and especially left-handed pitching that comes in to stop him out of the bullpen. He's a terrific young player.
He says his dad taught him that lefties were always going to be brought in to face him, so he better learn how to hit them. And he has learned. Here's Koski hitting at .291, hit a 3-run homer last night off Juaner Sanchez. And Sanchez, for the first time, looking mortal last night.
Very mortal, as a matter of fact. I thought that Koski's swing, I didn't think that ball was gone. I was very surprised that probably Sanchez was as well.
1-1 to Koski. We saw quite a bit of Pedro in the American League, playing for Toronto. He's 4 for 22 in his career against Pedro. That's more at bats than any other Brewer has against Martinez. Good fastball, 1-2. Pedro 5-0 to start the year. He's been 6-0 on 3 separate occasions in his career. Most recently in the 2002 season, he started as well as 8-0 one year. 2-2. Won his first 5 starts, had a no decision in a Mets win, and then for the first time on Tuesday in Philly, a no decision in a Mets loss. First time the Mets had lost with Pedro on the mound this year. Damian Miller, red hot hitter, waiting on deck. 2-2 to Koski, and he lays off, and it's 3-2.
Artificial atmosphere here in the dome, Gary. And I was talking to Pedro about this a little while back. He's really longing and wondering when the warm weather is going to come. He is a much better pitcher in the warmer weather. Has a better grip on the ball, likes going out there. And you know, when you look at his starts thus far this year, he has really not had much warm weather to pitch in.
There goes Fielder, and Koski fouls it off. Remember last year, the best fastball Pedro had all season was on a hot, humid night in Florida.
Yep.
The only pitcher in Major League Baseball to allow fewer hits than innings pitched in every start this season. Fielder ran on the first 3-2 pitch. He runs again, and it's outside, ball 4. Back-to-back walks, and Pedro is not happy.
That pitch looked like it got the outside corner, and obviously that's what is, well, maybe a little bit outside. But Pedro thought he had caught a piece of the corner. Willie Randolph obviously not happy from the dugout too.
Willie got ejected last night by Tim Cheetah. He had enough to complain about last night that he should have gotten ejected.
Exactly. Back-to-back walks with 1 out hurt Doug Davis in the top of the inning. We'll see if it hurts Pedro here.
Here's Damian Miller, who's been hot with the bat, and he launches one to deep left field. Valentin back, and it's out of here. Damian Miller with his 4th home run of the year, and the Brewers take a 3-2 lead. Well, this is the way Pedro's start here at Miller Park went last year. Gave up a couple of home runs after walks, and it befalls him again here, much as it did Doug Davis in the top of the inning.
Well, Damian Miller has been one hot hitter. 10-game hitting streak for him now. And a home run last night that got a little bit overlooked. That tied the game, I think. But Koski's three-run homer had gotten the Brewers close. Miller just launched that one.
So the first hit off Pedro is a 3-run homer. Here's Brady Clark.
4 for Miller.
And he takes a strike. Now, Pedro was upset about some of the ball strike calls in the previous at bat, and he threw a fastball right down the middle.
He threw a fastball, and then he threw his arm to the side as well, and as if to say, is that a strike?
1-1 to Clark.
Not very happy with Ted Barrett behind the plate.
Clark fouls it back. The Brewers today are wearing retro uniform. These are the old Brewer uniforms from the 70s and 80s with that MB logo on the sleeve. This is the 3rd game that they've worn these uniforms. They wore them for Sunday home games. But the first 2 games they wore them, they lost 11-0 and 7-0. So Damian Miller's home run marks the first time the Brewers have scored in these retro uniforms.
An historic home run for Damian. I don't think even he knows. They're on the board.
I don't think he cares. And Clark takes just up and away, 2-2. And again, Pedro looking into Ted Barrett, thinking maybe he should have had a strike call.
Well, I think Ted is trying to find his strike zone as well, and Pedro's trying to find out what it is.
Curveball in there for a call, strike 3. Great looking hook by Pedro. And Clark down looking for the 2nd out.
That's a great pitch there. Just froze Brady Clark as he took the step back. He is up on the plate anyway. I think we noticed that last night when he got plunked in the back, and that started off Sanchez getting thrown out, followed by Willie Randolph. But Clark really hugs and leans over that plate.
So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Doug Davis, not a good hitting pitcher at all. Left-hand pitcher, but right-hand batter. And sporting the pink bat today. And a 2-strike count on Davis, who's a lifetime .085 hitter. So Pedro struck out 3. He's allowed just 1 hit, but he finds himself behind in the game. 2 walks and a 3-run homer by Damian Miller. And both pitchers suffering from back-to-back walks here in the second inning. One and 2 to Davis. Curveball blooped. Matsui retreats and grabs it, side retired. But the Brewers grab the lead. Damian Miller with a 3-run homer, and it's 3-2 Milwaukee. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pedro Martinez after giving up the 3-run homer to Damian Miller. Might be a good sign. Pedro gave up a home run in each of his first 6 starts. The Mets won every game. Didn't give up a home run his last start. They lost. So he's gotten that out of the way.
A little bit upset with himself on the bench, but I think he's okay. I think he's figuring things out here, and maybe the strike zone as well.
Jose Reyes leads off in the 3rd. Reyes flied out his first time up. Facing lefty Doug Davis. He gets a bunt down. Koski throwing on the run, and it got him one away. Reyes did the same thing last night, and Koski threw him out in the 5th inning. Koski made this one look easy.
Well, Willie Randolph has urged Jose Reyes to bunt more. Jose taking him up on that, I think, the last couple of games. Pushing it a little bit too far right now, but Jose will get the hang of things, and that's really when he's effective, using his legs, using his speed.
I'd love to see him push one to the first base side.
Yep.
Right-handed like that. Force fielder to handle the ball.
Yep.
Here's Matsui, who flied to right his first time up. And he bluffs the bunt and takes a strike.
You force fielder to make a move, and you also force the pitcher to react quickly and get over and cover first base.
And especially with Davis, who's a lefty who falls off to the third base side. And Davis has something of an awkward delivery for a guy who doesn't throw very hard, and he is not in very good fielding position. Matsui flied to right his first time up. Kaz riding an 8-game hitting streak. Had the day off yesterday. Chris Woodward played second base. Lost in the Mets' victory last night was the job that Chad Bradford did, overcoming Woodward's error after all the tumult in the 8th inning.
Well, he did a great job last night. Picked up the win in the game as well. And Bradford unsuccessful on Friday night. Faced one batter, of course, gave up a hit. So he kind of atoned for that last night.
Came on after Sanchez was ejected, and Woodward booted a double play ball, but Bradford was able to pitch around to keep the game tied and set it up for LaDuca to be the hero. 2-2 to Matsui. And Davis misses with the fastball, 3-2. Well, Matsui showing good patience against a pitcher who has trouble finding the strike zone. 3-2 pitch. And there's the third walk given up by Davis. So 1 out and 1 on. Carlos Beltran coming up. The Mets at WB11 would like to invite kids to participate in the premiere of Weather Day at Shea. Prior to the Mets-Phillies game on Thursday, May 25th, kids can get a lesson from the WB's own weather team of Mr. G and Linda Church. Call 718-507-TIXX for more information. Here's Beltran, who grounded out to short his first time.
Good job by Matsui to draw that walk as well, Gary. Kaz, I think, at times has been confused by the strike zone and certainly has gone after pitches that he should lay off, but did a good job in the last 2 pitches. Down to first base now.
And the cutter missing to Beltran, 2-0. And Davis has really stayed away from that cutter. It doesn't look like he has the same command of it that we've seen him have in the past.
He certainly doesn't have the confidence in it. You can tell by his body language on the mound.
Ball 3. And so after walking Matsui, now he's 3-0 on Beltran with Delgado looming on deck. This is a spot where Beltran might have been over anxious last year, but again, he's being more selective this year with Delgado hitting behind him. And he takes a strike. But this has been so far as a more normal Carlos Beltran year. Right now, Carlos is 9th in the league in on-base percentage, 3rd in slugging percentage. Three-one pitch, pulled foul. As Davis came with another cutter, 3-2.
Well, a .417 on-base percentage coming in, and that's a huge upgrade from last year. That obviously is influenced by the number of walks. He has walked 23 times on the season, cut down on his strikeouts as well. He has 18 thus far.
And then you throw in the power numbers.
Yep.
I mean, 191 at bats, 9 home runs. Pretty good ratio. See if Matsui runs on 3-2. He does not, and Beltran strikes out on a high fastball. So Doug Davis comes back from 3-0 to strike out Beltran, 2 away.
Pitch high up in the zone and pitch better to lay off of, but Beltran going after it. Davis beat him up high.
That's one of the rare times we've seen Beltran go out of the zone like that. You mentioned Davis and the strikeouts, which are down this year. But if you go back, since 2004, only 2 lefties in the majors have more strikeouts than Doug Davis. It's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Julio Santana, Randy Johnson, and then Davis.
Which one doesn't belong and why?
Here's Delgado with 2 out and a runner aboard, and he found Sipswell. Delgado faked a bunt. First pitch he saw from Davis in the 2nd inning, and then popped up on the next pitch. You see 402 strikeouts since the start of the 2004 season, and Miss Santana and Randy Johnson have done better. Randy on the short end again today, down 4-1 in the 7th in the Bronx against the A's. And Davis with that balk move to first. The balk move that's never called a balk.
The standard balk move.
Delgado hasn't had much luck against Davis, just 2 for 15 in his career. And again, Matsui back. Now see, he hangs that right leg, which is fine, but then he steps toward home plate. I mean, that's a balk.
Yes.
There's an imaginary line that runs from the corner of the rubber to the first base line, and you have to step to the first base side of it, and Davis clearly is not doing that. And Delgado gets plunked.
Well, Davis is not the only pitcher that does that as well. I mean, countless pitchers have made that move over to first. Took one right off the elbow, it looked like.
That's the first batter Doug Davis has hit this year. And it gives the Mets an opportunity here with 2 out and 2 on. The umpires got in the way to make sure that there were no ill feelings. Delgado trying to shake it off down at first base. I mean, last night, Sanchez hit Brady Clark with a pitch, and the umpires judged there to be intent, but I think the Brewers understood there was no intent. Tie game. Not going to put the go-ahead run on base in the 8th inning. So I don't think there was anything retaliatory about that. Wright pulls one foul.
Eduardo Sanchez said no, and look, it's conceivable that he, in anger, that he could have hit a batter, but Sanchez has been around long enough to know that you're in that situation. You've just lost a 4-run lead, 3-run homer and a solo home run, and you can't put the winning run on base.
It would be a very selfish thing to do.
Absolutely.
And you certainly don't think that Sanchez is that kind of teammate. I mean, that would be a pitcher thinking only about himself and not about his team.
Absolutely.
To do that intentionally.
Or letting anger get the best of him. And Sanchez said that wasn't the case, and he's been an exemplary teammate thus far.
Willie Randolph certainly understood that. Tim Cheetah did not.
Yep.
1-1 to Wright.
Well, Tim Cheetah has been around too, Gary. That's what doesn't make sense about the rule. First of all, maybe there should have been a warning.
Well, that's what would be standard operating procedure
before anyone is thrown out. But Tim Cheetah is a veteran up, and should know in that situation you're not going to put the run that may kill you on base.
2-1 to Wright, and he fouls one back. Got a pitch to hit there. And what got Willie thrown out was his comment as he was coming back off the mound. He said to Tim Cheetah, "Timmy, you're better than that." That's what got him run out of the game.
Willie had a nice heave-ho of his own, don't you think?
I'll tell you what, after he got thrown out, he certainly went back and got his full chunk.
Yes. Yeah.
2 on and 2 out, 2-2 to Wright. Mets down by a run in the 3rd. Hit to Wright, and Jenkins right there. And Davis works around trouble in the 3rd. We go to the bottom of the 3rd in Milwaukee. Still 3-2 Brewers.
Talk to me a lot as we're getting down to it. Am I going lower first? Okay. What's that? No, I'm not. I can't. But my IFB is really bad, so keep talking to me as we're at 10 seconds, 5, all that stuff. I'm just saying keep talking to me because my IFB is really bad, so I need to just the way it is, the way it's going to be in this stadium. Bottom of the 3rd. Bottom of the 3rd, right? Yeah. You lose track of it all. That kills me. The mustache and everything. Keith Hernandez would be proud. Yeah, say it again. Okay.
Top of the batting order for the Brewers as we go to the bottom of the third. 3-2 Milwaukee. Ricky Weeks up against Pedro Martinez, who's allowed just one hit, but that was a 3-run homer to Damian Miller. And Weeks takes a cutter, 1-0. Weeks at a pop fly to shallow center, and Beltran made a terrific sliding catch after a late start. 1-1 to Weeks. Ricky Weeks, just 23 years old. Prince Fielder, 22 years old. And right side of the infield, cornerstones for the Brewers. Two guys who have known each other since they were 11 years old, playing AAU ball together. 1-2 to Weeks.
Prince was talking about that yesterday. He said it seems almost strange when I look over because Ricky Weeks has been to my right just about every time I look over there.
The Brewers feel about their right side of the infield the way the Mets feel about the left side of theirs. Matsui throws out Weeks, one away. Well, let's go to Chris Cotter. Where in the ballpark is he?
Well, thanks, Gary. I'm here in Bernie Brewer's Perch. And actually, it's Mother's Day. I'm joined by Bernie Brewer's mother as well, so a special occasion. And they both actually went to the barber today to get their mustaches styled in the same way, so that's kind of touching, something that Keith could appreciate. Now, one thing about Keith, I was actually invited to ride down the slide today, but Bernie Brewer advised me. He said, it's very slick today, and I thought with Keith on the shelf and the way I performed in the sausage race yesterday, I'm not going to take any chances. Knowing what I know about physics, which isn't much, I could slide right off the end, and we don't need anybody else on the DL, Gary.
Well, that's true, Chris. We did a little research about your jaunt around the warning track yesterday, and what we came to find out is that the fix is in against the Polish sausage.
That's right, yeah, the Polish sausage has only won one race all year in 19 races. I mean, I was behind the 8 ball from the start. Not that I'm going to make any excuses or anything.
Well, we're going to give you a little pass on that and be happy you didn't finish last. If you missed it last night, Chris finished third in the 4 sausage race.
And I'm just happy I didn't pull up lame. That's the most important thing to me, especially, again, with what's going on with Keith in his throat.
Or fall down. That can happen, too.
2 out and nobody on. Here's Jeff Jenkins. As long as you don't run into Randall Simon, generally it's a safe trip around the warning track. Frankly, the reason Chris didn't do better is because he was playing to the crowd. Signing autographs, waving. Good changeup by Pedro. That's the best one he's thrown, 1-1.
Speaking of waving, the Brewers are waving at some of Pedro's pitches here. Seems locked in here in the 3rd inning. Struck out Bill Hall, 4 strikeouts on the game.
1-1 to Jenkins. Another changeup, 2-1. Pedro didn't throw that changeup in the 1st inning when he struck out a pair. Now going to it 2nd time around the batting order. Jenkins has been struggling. Pops it up. Right has room in foul ground. And Pedro's got himself a 1-2-3 inning. We go to the 4th in Milwaukee. 3-2 Brewers. Yeah. Mother's Day in Milwaukee, and all the moms are out in force. As Xavier Nady leads off the fourth inning, Mets down by a run. Nady walked and scored his first trip, and he takes ball one from Doug Davis. Nady sporting the pink bat and the pink wristband. Give me some of those pink wristbands. 1-1 the count to Nady.
I imagine we might be able to pry a couple away from a couple of the players after the game for you. You'd like?
Got the pink ribbon up above the R in New York.
Jose Reyes, Carlos Delgado wearing them.
All to raise awareness of the need for breast cancer research. 1-2 to Nady. Well, those guys are ready for next weekend. Look at that. And
side by side.
And they're not even hustling.
Got a long way to go. They got to pace themselves.
I got a Cubs fan next to them. One-two to Nady, and curveball misses.
Speaking of the wristbands, Gary, I would imagine that Darren Oliver's very happy that his teammates are sporting the pink bats and the wristbands. His mom had a bout with breast cancer. She's doing okay.
And appears to be doing a lot better.
Yep.
3-2 to Nady.
Darren actually left the team to go see her when she was going to have surgery right at the end of spring training, and left as a non-member of the Mets. When he came back, he was a member of the team.
Nady pounds one foul.
Victor Zambrano had hurt his hamstring at the time, and I think Willie Randolph figured that they needed a long man more so than Pedro Feliciano at the time. They sent Pedro down for 10 days, and he eventually came back up, and Darren's still with the team doing a good job.
There you saw Darren sitting in the bullpen. 3-2 to Nady. Struck him out. Big sinker by Davis, and he fans Nady one away. Third strikeout for Davis. One out and nobody on. Let's take a look at today's Dodge trivia question. Which four Brewers, I guess we mean current Brewers, were top 10 draft picks? That's pretty good scouting right there if you can get your number one picks to the big leagues. The draft in Major League Baseball is such a crapshoot compared to other sports. I mean, you go through the NFL draft and the NBA draft, and everybody knows who these players are, and you get a pretty good sense of who's going to be able to make it. Baseball, it's so different. And one of the reasons why the draft has not become a major event. 2-0 to Castro. The surest bet in the draft over the last few years has become college pitchers, the guys who you can best project get into the big leagues. Ball 3 to Castro.
As the Mets await Mike Pelfrey as he makes his steady climb up the organizational chart, now at Binghamton, number one draft pick.
Willie's waiting for him. 3-0 to Castro, and he takes one. 3-1.
Well, I can think of three of the four right off the top of my head. I'm not sure who the fourth is. So. See if we can figure that out.
Well, I've got the answer right here, but I'm not telling.
Well, keep it hidden from me. Tantalize me a little bit more.
3-1 to Castro, and there's the fourth walk given up by Doug Davis. So Davis has walked 4, hit a batter, 1 out in the fourth inning, and yet he has himself a lead.
And here's the guy that made him pay the last time. He walked 2 with 1 out back in the second inning. Jose Valentin, after a fly out by Castro, took care of things, knocked in both runs.
In a line drive to left that Carlos Lee misplayed into a double. It's the only hit that the Mets have. The Brewers have only 1 hit, and that was a 3-run homer by Damian Miller. So both teams have made the most of their lonely hit. 1 out and 1 on. And Valentin dribbles one. Will it stay fair? Davis picks it up. Fair ball, base hit. Now sometimes when you're hot, you get lucky. And Valentin hit one 25 feet for an infield single.
That's exactly right. Valentin has been hitting the ball pretty much on the screws lately. Home run last night. But he looped one in there for a 2 RBI hit. This time just dribbles one down the third baseline, and Davis held onto it as well. He should have made a good decision there.
He rightly realized that ball was not going foul.
Right. And didn't want to make an errant throw down to first. Valentin would have had a beat out.
Well, Jose Valentin, who had been struggling so mightily, came into last night with 5 hits on the season. Well, he now has 4 hits in his last 4 at-bats. And here comes Pedro in a bunting situation. Pedro struck out his first time up. They don't run the wheel, and Pedro takes ball 1. Last night in a bunting situation, the Brewers twice in a row faked the wheel with the shortstop starting to dash to third and then stopping, and the third baseman staying back. When you run the wheel, the third baseman charges and the shortstop goes to cover third. 1-0 to Pedro. They play straight up, and it's 2-0. And Davis continuing to have difficulty throwing strikes with Reyes waiting on deck. That's down by a run as they bat in the 4th. Ed Yost, I'm sure, has seen far too much of this from Davis already this year. He's now walked 30 batters in 47 innings. And Pedro incredulous that was a strike. And I'm sure thinking, hope that's a strike for me.
That wasn't a strike when I threw it the last time. Pedro taking a glance back at Ted Barrett.
2-1 to Martinez. Pedro has 1 sacrifice on the year, 2 hits. And that's a strike as well. And Pedro with another withering glance.
Well, Pedro doesn't say much, but I think looks will tell you 1,000 words.
Well, he got the high strike. Now he got the low inside strike with the cutter, and now it's 2-2. I guess Pedro can count on getting a lot more strikes on the other side. Willie's not happy. On 2-2, he gets the bunt down very nicely, and Davis makes the play. Almost pulled fielder Weeks off the bag, but it's a successful sacrifice for Pedro, going 1-4, and moves the runners to second and third.
Oh, nice job by Pedro getting it down with 2 strikes and giving Jose Reyes a chance here. Mets have been successful with 2 outs. Certainly back in the second. Pedro, nice job there, squaring himself. And a good pitch to bunt, and bunts it right back to the pitcher.
Deadening that ball nicely. And Davis almost threw it down the line.
Weeks almost being drawn off the bag.
So the tying and go-ahead runs in scoring position with 2 out. Here's Reyes, who's 0 for 2. Breaks his bat. And Koski's got it. Throws out Reyes, side retired. It's been a tough day at the plate for Reyes already. Mets lead 2, still 3-2 Milwaukee. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Land Rover. Experience the highly advanced Land Rover LR3 at LandRoverUSA.com. Mother's Day in Milwaukee. The Brewers with a 3-2 lead as we go to the bottom of the fourth. And Carlos Lee leads off against Pedro and takes ball one. Lee popped up his first time up. And he waves at 1-1. The changeup by Pedro.
Pedro throwing the changeup an awful lot more in the last couple of innings.
Misses with a cutter, 2-1.
But that's how smart a pitcher he is. Stays away from it first time through the order. Second time through, he's going to show it a lot more.
The center field, Beltran right there. And Lee retired one away. That's 6 in a row retired by Pedro since the Miller home run. Now let's see if we can find the answer to the Dodge trivia question. Okay, you said that you had 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. Fielder, Weeks, and Ben Sheets.
Very good.
I would guess Hardy, but I think he was a second-round pick.
Jeff Jenkins. Let's go back a little further for that one.
95.
That's very well done on your part. Nice job.
J.J. Hardy, I think, was a number 2 pick.
And here
Second-round.
was the best part about that. His fielder takes a big cut at a fastball. The best part about it is you didn't give it away. You didn't blurt out the answer. You held it in reserve.
I know that.
That's a great job on your part. You didn't play horseshot. Line foul. As Pedro ran the cutter in on fielder's hands, and it's 0-2.
So I take it that Keith has a propensity of doing that? Is that?
See, I always thought of him as Barbarino, but he definitely has a little horseshot in him. I've been known to blurt out an answer or two in my time, too, so I can't say much. 0-2 from Pedro, just misses with a fastball, 1-2. Fielder walked and scored in the second inning. Pedro walked Fielder and Koski back-to-back, and Miller made him pay with a 3-run homer, the only hit that Pedro's allowed. And Fielder jammed, fouls it off. Now let's take a look at today's Pitcher's High Speed, brought to you by Verizon Online DSL. Now twice as fast as before, and Pedro dialing it up to 92. He did that back in the first inning. Threw a lot of fastballs early. You just never know with Pedro what he's going to feel right doing on any given day in terms of his pitch selection.
Well, he judges by the swings of the people he's facing, and there's no question that he reacts to how they come after his pitches, and he'll adjust on the mound. I mean, he is a master manipulator on the mound and adjusts so well.
Balloon animals, anyone? Curveball in there for a call, strike 3. Well, he set Fielder up with fastballs and cutters and got him looking at the curve. 5 strikeouts for Pedro.
And the Fielder badly fooled on that one. Had a notion and just held up for a split second, and that's all it takes. Back to the bench.
So Pedro hitting the groove now. 7 in a row he's retired. Now here's Koski, who walked his first time up. So Pedro making the adjustments to Ted Barrett's strike zone as much as anything. And Koski rips one toward the right field corner. Nady won't catch up with this. And it hops over the fence. A ground rule double for Koski. The second hit of the game for the Brewers.
Koski has that nice, easy swing that kind of fools you, Gary. We were talking about the home run last night that I didn't think he got all of it. Just a nice, goes down and gets the ball down about knee level and lofts it down into the right field corner. So I was mentioning the home run that he hit. I didn't think was getting out.
Damian Miller, first time up today. 2 men aboard. First pitch. And he got a fastball right down the middle and made no mistake. Damian Miller, in a world that he's never inhabited before, that home run gives him a .337 batting average. This is a guy who every year will hit his .270, .275. He's never hit more than 13 home runs in a season. He's already got 4, 21 RBIs. So he's just off to a phenomenal start. Koski at second and 2 out. And he dribbles one down to Delgado. Easiest of plays for Carlos. And the inning is over. So Pedro works around the double by Koski. Mets still down by a run. if you can't get enough of the sausage races at Miller Park, you can take the sausages home with you. I'll tell you what, they have made a cottage industry out of the sausages. Live sausage races have been a big part of Milwaukee baseball since the early 90s at County Stadium. And today, it's a day for families, it's a day for moms, and a lot of moms in the ballpark today, and dads too, taking the kids off mom's hands for the day on Mother's Day. And our best to all the moms tuning in today. 3-2 Milwaukee as we go to the fifth. Kaz Matsui leads off against Doug Davis and takes a strike. Matsui has flied to right and drawn a walk. Davis has walked 4 and hit a batter, but he's allowed just 2 hits, both to Jose Valentin. Talk about guys getting red hot all of a sudden. And Matsui waves at the cutter. 0-2. Wow. That's a tough sentiment right there. Brewers more important. That's tough. Matsui pulls one through the hole, and the Mets have their 3rd hit of the game. And for the first time today, the Mets get the leadoff man on against Doug Davis.
Tough pitch to hit, speaking of tough, and Matsui going upstairs, lining that shot, letter high fastball.
So Matsui is aboard for the 2nd time. And here is Beltran, who has struck out and grounded out. See if Matsui can get a read on the lefty. It's tough with that pickoff move that Davis uses. That's what the Mets have done leading off an inning. That's the good news. .357 on base percentage leading off the inning. The problem has been getting them around. And Beltran hits one to center. Hit well. Clark back. Has room and runs it down. At that little triangle out there to the right of center field where Clark caught that ball. You hit it a couple of feet to the right of where that ball came down. You might have a chance of getting it out.
Well, the deepest part of the park, there is another angle on the other side as well. Brady Clark edging over toward it to haul that one in. Good drive by Beltran, wrong place.
Miller Park opened in 2001, replacing County Stadium. And you've got your requisite number of quirky angles on the outfield fence. Not too quirky, not Houston quirky.
No mounds in center field.
Here's Delgado, who was hit by pitches last time. Matsui has only 2 steals this year. Remember, he had a knee problem in spring training. 0-2 to Delgado. And while normally you wouldn't want to run with Delgado up there because you want to keep the hole open, there's no hole with 3 infielders on the right side. So if you have a chance, you might as well. 1-2 to Delgado.
You were talking about getting people on base, Gary, before, which the Mets have been very good at leading off an inning, but runners in scoring position, obviously, they've been a little bit lacking in that regard.
They helped themselves out last night, raised that average 6 points, but it's still at 242, which is the 4th lowest in the league. So getting them on hasn't been the problem. Getting them in has been something else. And they had that problem again in the last inning at 2nd and 3rd, but didn't score. And Davis with a sinker strikes out Delgado, 2 men down. 4th strikeout for Doug Davis. Here's David Wright. David wearing the pink armband. No pink bat, but he talked about what the pink means today.
I mean, anytime you go out there and you support something, like breast cancer on Mother's Day, in such a, like a masculine driven game, to go out there and, use the pink backs, it shows that, baseball players can be supportive of good causes.
David has been known to wear a pink shirt every now and again.
Yep.
And has sometimes heard about that from his teammates.
Well, as he says, one of the few guys in that clubhouse that can wear a pink shirt and pull it off successfully.
Well, you know, pink is the new black. Hit hard, but foul. 1-1.
Pink is the new black. I'm going to have to remember that.
You could pull off. You could pull off pink.
You think? I'm not quite sure. Salmon, maybe. Not pink. How's salmon sound?
What's a shade between friends? Coral, salmon. 1-1 to right. And he takes a strike. Gary Cohen, Ed Coleman, Chris Cotter with you from Miller Park in Milwaukee. Keith Hernandez is off as he rests his froggy throat. And we hope to have Keith back with us Tuesday night in St. Louis. So we're happy that Ed's able to fill his rather large shoes.
I don't have Keith's shoes on, but I do have Keith's tie.
Do you really?
And I have Keith's shirt as
Really?
well. Yeah. And now I really know what it means to be a sheep in wolf's clothing.
That's very nice. Good tie, good shirt. He served you well.
Fits rather nicely, yes.
That's good. So you guys wear the same size. That's nice to know. You can share.
Keith's here in spirit, to say the least.
I hope that his germs didn't follow his shirt
I
and
hope
tie.
so. You'll find out in a couple of days.
He may need an antibiotic before long. See Fielder holding against Matsui. 2-2 to right with 2 down. Mets down by a run in the 5th. And Matsui right on the bag, recognizing that Davis has got that move, and a little bemused expression for Kaz. You don't get that very often.
Yeah, Kaz is not going anywhere. He's looking at the balk/non-balk move of Doug Davis on the mound, and he's taking a standard lead over there.
He's not going far away. Well, at least he's not doing the Andrew Jones. Remember in the playoffs in '99 when Kenny Rogers was pitching? Andrew Jones just stood on first base like it was Little League. No lead.
Not going anywhere. Don't even bother throwing over.
That time Matsui was going back to the bag as Davis delivered. Now it's 3-2, and now he will be running. Let's see if Fielder moves behind him as Nady waits on deck. Looks like Fielder will continue to hold so that Matsui can't get far away, but he'll be running with 3-2 and 2 down. Payoff to right, and it's driven deep but foul. Got around a little too far on the cutter and launched one into the third deck. A foul by a considerable margin.
Got a couple of souvenirs up there today. Carlos Lee, last one down there back in the first inning or second inning. Long but foul.
Souvenirs in non-souvenir territory. 3-2 to right. Ball 4. And there's the 5th walk given up by Doug Davis. Well, the Mets made Davis pay the first time back in the second when he walked a couple. Valentin drove him in. Ed Yost didn't like that last call.
The pitch looked a little low down in the zone. Ted Barrett says ball 4, rights on.
Mets left 2 on in the 3rd, 2 on in the 4th. They've got 2 on here in the 5th, trailing 3-2, and Nady will try and do something with it. Nady has walked and struck out. Matsui at second, right at first, and 2 away. Davis trying to work out of another jam. And he misses badly, 1-1.
When he has missed at times, he has missed badly. And his command just looks overall, I think this year his command has been spotty from game to game.
And as a consequence, he's thrown a ton of pitches today, 97 now with 2 out in the 5th. Nady gets the changeup and fouls it off. And now Davis ahead 1-2. Hey, Mets fans, don't miss your chance to vote for your favorite Mets players of all time. Just log on to WB11.com and vote for the WB11 all-time Mets team. The results will be announced during our Jeep Showdown at Shea Mets-Yankees pregame special this Friday at 6:30. Oh, the Mets and the Yankees coming up?
Oh, on the horizon.
Next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Shea. 1-2 to Nady. And Davis misses badly again. And it's 2-2.
Okay, series that will captivate the town. It usually does, but probably even more so this year.
Question is, who will the Mets be pitching on Friday night?
That's a good question.
Could be Jeremy Gonzalez.
Could be Brian Bannister.
2-2 to Nady, and he strikes him out. Backdoor cutter by Davis, and he fans Nady, and the Mets strand 2 for the third straight inning. We were halfway through, 3-2 Milwaukee. Look at that. Look at that. Variation on a theme. We go to the bottom of the fifth in Milwaukee on Mother's Day. I know my mom would rather be in a ballpark on Mother's Day than anywhere else.
Moms and their kids here today.
And Brady Clark takes a curveball for a strike. Clark went down looking his first time up. Pedro got him with a curveball. Pedro struck out 5 today, 57 for the year. That gives him the National League lead.
Yeah, we were talking about that Yankee series and who's going to pitch on Friday. I think you're probably right. I think it is going to be Gonzalez, Jeremy Gonzalez, who will go.
Clark fouls it off. Well, I think there's a disagreement in the Mets hierarchy. Not a disagreement, but a difference of opinion about whether to bring Bannister back and throw him into that cauldron on Friday night. We're talking about a rookie here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a rookie who had his problems before he got injured, too.
1-2 to Clark. And an emergency swing, and he fouls it off.
He was not the sharp Brian Bannister that we all saw during spring training, obviously, in the starts that he had during the regular season. So he'll probably use a rehab start.
And the way Gonzalez went out and threw strikes last night and challenged hitters was fun to watch. Curveball, loop to right. Matsui out. And he runs it down, one away.
Second time Matsui has run it down.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mets and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mets.
One out and nobody on. Doug Davis fouls one away. Well, Davis has thrown 100 pitches through 5 innings, but Ned Yost wants another inning out of him, so he bats here in the bottom of the 5th.
I think the other thing about Gonzalez going is this, that he is a guy who will throw strikes, and the Yankees are a very patient team. They are going to take walks if you give them to them, and they'll take strikes, they'll take pitches. I think you want a guy who's around the strike zone, and Gonzalez certainly is aggressive and will go after you. Probably with the guys you have, he's probably best served to pitch against that team than anybody else.
1-2 to Davis. There's Jeremy. Struck him out with a fastball. That's 6 strikeouts now for Pedro. All the Mets have to do is, as you see the strikeout pitch to Davis, they have to bring up Jeremy Robertson and reacquire Jeremy Burnitz. And then they'll have 3 guys on the team who don't know how to spell Jeremy.
That's correct. All of them spelling it differently.
2 out and nobody on. Here's Ricky Weeks. So you've got Jeremy Gonzalez, Jeremi.
Yes.
Jeremy Robertson, Jerime.
OI or IO? I'm not sure.
I think it's IO.
Okay.
Believe
IO.
it or not.
Okay.
And then, of course, is Jeremy Burnitz, Jeromy. And Weeks hits one to deep center field. Beltran back, looking up, and it's out of here. Ricky Weeks homers for the 2nd straight day. His 3rd home run of the year. And the Brewers stretch their lead to 4-2 as Bernie goes sliding.
Well, Weeks starting to come out of his little slump that he has been in. He's not gotten up to the start, I think, that everyone envisioned here in Milwaukee, but he has certainly looked like the player that they expected, 1st-round draft pick in this series here.
Well, he had just 1 home run all season until last night. Now he's homered in back-to-back games. So here's Bill Hall, and he takes a strike.
Pitch down and away that he went and got in good power. Pretty much straight away center field.
So it's 4-2 Milwaukee, just the 3rd hit given up by Pedro. And how about the parallels between Pedro's game today and the game he threw here last year?
Yeah.
He allowed just 3 hits in 7 innings in that game, but gave up 5 runs. And struck the home plate umpire, Ted Barrett, on the way back. Ricky Weeks, number 2 pick in the draft out of Southern University and destined to be a star. Pedro strikes out Hall for the 3rd time. That's 7 strikeouts for Pedro, but Weeks' home run has given the Brewers a 2-run lead after 5.
Is that a curve?
I thought it was a cutter.
Cutter?
I'd have to see it again.
Yeah. I didn't get a good look at it then. Give it 19.
Copy on up in the bullpen. Will Pedro bat here?
I think they will. Yeah, I think they will. Leading off the inning. How many pitches he got?
Pedro's at 3rd.
Oh, that, yeah. How many pitches? I think maybe it depends
82.
Depends on what these 2 guys do here.
Yeah, if you can leave him into sacrifice, you can get him on. I think they'll leave him in anyway. It's only the top of the 6th.
46.
Although you do have an off day tomorrow. Your bullpen.
Who's not available today? Howland, I guess, right?
Yeah, Hyman threw 40-something pitches.
44 yesterday, yeah.
You know, they're big on food here
in Milwaukee.
I've noticed that.
Those are some kind of nuts, some nut confection to go with the sausage and the cheese and the beer.
There's a lot of beer in this town, too. I've noticed that.
Ramon Castro leads off against Doug Davis in the 6th. And I have to tell you that if you like cheese and you like sausage, I had the most amazing omelet this morning. The highlight of my weekend in Milwaukee.
Well, you've come to the right place if you like cheese.
Castro takes outside 2-0.
And sausage. Oof.
Castro's flied to right and drawn a walk. Davis has walked 5. Cotton candy, well, that's universal. Pure sugar.
Sugar shock.
Sugar plays well everywhere. This season, the 6th inning means it's time to swing for sandwiches. If a Met hits a home run this inning, you can log on to WB11.com for your chance to score a $100 gift card at Subway. Castro's hit 1 this year.
Gary, speaking of home runs, the one that Pedro gave up to Ricky Weeks, his 8th home run in 51 innings thus far. He only gave up 19 in 217 innings last year.
And Castro has a base hit. Just the 4th man hit off Doug Davis, and so for the 2nd straight inning, the Mets get the leadoff man on, and we'll see how far Ned Yost goes with Davis now. He's up to 104 pitches. And Jose Valentin, the hottest Met right now, comes to the plate. Here comes Ned, and he may be making the change right now. He's got Jose Capian up in the bullpen. Capian looked very impressive the other night. And he's going to make the sign and bring Capian into the game. So he let Davis bat in the 5th. He faces one batter in the 6th. And now he'll exit, and Capian will take over the pitching. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar.
Capian.
Doug Davis out of the game after 5 innings plus, and he leaves with the lead as Jose Capian, hard-throwing right-hander, comes on to pitch for the Brewers. He'll turn Jose Valentin around. Valentin was 2 for 2 from the right side. Now he'll step in from the left side. Tying run at the plate in a 4-2 game. Ball 1 from Capian. Valentin doubled over Carlos Lee's head to drive home the Mets' runs in the 2nd. Then he had a scratch infield hit in the 4th. Amazing how quickly you can raise your batting average when you don't play much. Pops this one up a mile high. A roof scraper for Miller. And he stays with it, 1 away. So 1 out and 1 on. Pedro will come up. Have you logged on to WB11.com lately? It's the place for weather info, a planning forecast that won't leave you all wet, allergy alerts, and Mr. G's 5-day forecast. You'll find it all 24/7 only at WB11.com. Now, Pedro will stay in despite the Mets trailing 4-2. He's thrown 82 pitches over 5 innings. He's given up a pair of long balls that have him in the hole. But Willie wants to coax another inning or two out of Pedro, so he'll stay in to bunt here and takes ball 1. He's got an off day tomorrow, so the bullpen can have some rest. But when Pedro goes to the mound, you want to get as much as you can out of him.
Well, Aaron Heilman probably is the only guy who was unavailable in the bullpen today, Gary. He threw 44 pitches yesterday. I think everybody else would be okay to go, good to go.
And Pedro gets the bunt down, and fielder has to chase Pedro. And there are 2 out.
Gonna make you earn it there, Rook.
I thought he was going to have to chase him all the way into the dugout. U-turn.
Making Prince Fielder keep his eye on the runner.
Well, Pedro was just making sure Castro could get to second.
The second successful sacrifice for Pedro today. Yeah, it does take a while for Castro to get there.
So Reyes will try and drive Castro in, but it takes a pretty good hit to do that. Reyes has had a struggle today. 0 for 3, has not looked good at the plate. Now turns around about left-handed, his weaker side. Third baseman Koski has to play a step in against the ever-present bunt threat, although a bunt with a runner at second and 2 out is not a good play. Good fastball by Campion. Clocked at 94. Campion has been clocked as high as 101 on the gun. He had Tommy John surgery in 2001, missed 2.5 years, and then was traded by the Braves to the Brewers in the deal that sent Danny Kolb to Atlanta. Kolb is now back with the Brewers. But Campion's got a great arm.
An ill-fated deal for the Atlanta Braves. Kolb never worked out in Atlanta. And there was a time, Gary, when Campion was expected to be the next big thing for the Braves. Possibly a guy who could slide into the rotation and when a Maddox left or somebody else left like Tom Glavine, but it just never worked out that way.
2-1 to Reyes. And the Brewers certainly have themselves an elite closer, a guy that got off the scrap heap, and Derek Turnbull, but Campion's got closer stuff.
Mets not very gracious last night, by the way, beating Derek Turnbow on Derek Turnbow bobblehead night. But I think they'll take it.
I guess he had a bad hair day. 2-2 to Reyes, punch foul.
You might say that every day, possibly.
Well, Derek Turnbow's teammates call him a rock star. He's certainly got rock star hair more than ball player hair. Damian Miller sends the sign. Breaking ball, and Reyes pops it up. Bill Hall, the shortstop, and the Mets strand another. 8 men left on base over the first 6 innings. Still 4-2 Milwaukee.
for.
Yeah. Let's check out the Toyota line score as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Mets 2 runs, 4 hits, and the Brewers 4 runs, only 3 hits, but 2 of them home runs off Pedro Martinez. Pedro's now given up 8 home runs. Pedro's given up 20 runs this year, and 13 of them have come via the home run. Part of the batting order, Jeff Jenkins leads off for Milwaukee. Jenkins has struck out and fouled out. One and one to Jenkins. Of course, last year Pedro had that one start against the Phillies the last day of August in which he allowed 4 home runs. And that was really a pivotal game in the Mets season last year.
Yes.
The night before, Ramon Castro had hit a dramatic home run to win a game, got the Mets within a half game of the lead, and then Pedro had a lead the next day and shockingly gave up 4 home runs.
Yeah, it was a day they came crashing back to earth, and it is significant and maybe a little bit alarming that he has given up as many as he has thus far this year.
3-2 to Jenkins. And yet, in every other aspect, he's been completely dominant.
Yeah.
Lowest batting average against in the majors, leading the league in strikeouts, 5-0 record, 2.89 ERA coming into the day, 8th in the league. The home run's the only negative. Curveball in there for a call, strike 3, and Jenkins knew he'd been had. 8 strikeouts now for Pedro, 1 away.
Started toward the plate before the ball was in the mitt. Jenkins with a high leg kick, and he knew it as soon as he looked in. Breaking ball from Pedro. In there for yet another strikeout. I guess, Gary, it would lend you to believe that the mistakes that Pedro has made, they're taking advantage of. Maybe less so than last year. He hasn't made that many, but they certainly have taken him deep at a larger rate than they have last season.
Carlos Lee has popped a short fly to center. And he fouls one off. Let's take a look at the Mets' upcoming schedule, brought to you by TD Bank Financial Group. 3 games in St. Louis after an off day tomorrow. Tom Glavine opens the series on Tuesday night. And then the Mets head home to play the Yankees next weekend. Lee pops it up, shallow center. Matsui out and calling. 2 away. So 2 out and nobody on. Pedro's done a good job today against Carlos Lee. And now here's Prince Fielder. Fielder's walked and scored and taken a call, 3rd strike. Pedro struck out 10 in Philadelphia Tuesday night. He struck out 8 tonight. Now has 60 strikeouts in 52 innings. That's struck out by far the most hitters in the National League. And a curveball to Fielder for a strike. Met pitchers have now struck out 311 in 336 innings. Oh, that's an incredible ratio for an entire staff.
Yeah.
Another curve, 1-1. This season, your Tri-State Hyundai dealers and the WB11 team up to help kids strike out cancer. Every strikeout recorded by a Mets pitcher will add $100 to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. If you'd like to help, please call 212-305-1420 for more information.
Well, a couple of factors enter into that. Tom Glavine has struck out more this year. You have Billy Wagner aboard and Jorge Julio, who strikes out a lot of people.
Julio's strikeout ratio has been nothing short of phenomenal. Yeah, it looks like Cliff Floyd is getting himself ready for a possible pinch hitting appearance. Got those pants leg pulled down now. That's the way he likes it. Been tough for Cliff to sit the last couple of days. 3-2 now to Fielder. With all the work that Cliff has done over the last couple of years to keep himself healthy and in the lineup, it's got to be just killing him to be healthy and not playing. 3-2 to Fielder. Struck him out with a cutter. Pedro strikes out Fielder. 9 strikeouts for Martinez as he gets the heart of the batting order. 1-2-3.
Sausages.
You know anybody in this race?
Not that I know of.
Should have said Max down there
off to the little weenies. Wearing number
That is
1, the
evil.
Clements Bratwurst. Number 1, Bratwurst. Wearing number 2, the Clements Polish sausage.
About the
Number
Polish
2,
wins
Polish.
today, just to rub it in Chris's
Number 3
face.
is the Clements Italian sausage. Number 3,
Polish will
Italian.
win just to
And
rub it in
wearing number
Chris's
4,
face.
the Clements hot dog. Number 4, hot dog. And you see the finish line down the right field line past first base. Stand up and cheer on your favorites as they hand off and race to the finish line. Sausages on your marks. Get set. Go! And they're off. It's a fair start and
It's a
a
relay
fast
race.
start. Italian leads the way. Number 2, Polish is second.
Bratwurst is a little off kilter. Look at the little Bratwurst. He's kind of leaning back.
Polish now opening up. Here comes Italian again. What's going on with hot dog and Bratwurst? They've lost their way. Hey, this is close. It's going to be a close one here. Handoff. And the little weenies are off. Hey, it looks like Polish all the way. Yes, it is. Number 2, Polish from Clements.
Chris will know what we've done.
On to the 7th here in Milwaukee. That's down by a deuce. Pedro Martinez trying to avoid his first loss of the season, and the Mets will try and get him some offense going. The Mets have left 8 runners on base over the first 6 innings. It'll be Matsui, Beltran, and Delgado for New York against hard-throwing Jose Campion. Matsui 1 for 2 and a walk. Has is now hit in 9 straight games, and he's had exactly 1 hit in each one of those games. If he can break the trend here. And he takes outside from Campion. Speaking of odd statistical notes, as you look at the ribbons for breast cancer awareness that all the players are wearing today. Last night the Mets scored 9 runs. 2-0 to Matsui. Each of the Mets starting players scored 1 run. 9 runs with 1 run from each starter. It's happened only twice before in Mets history. .3-0 to Matsui. 85 against the Phillies in a lineup that featured Keith Hernandez.
Yes.
And in 2004 at Yankee Stadium. 9 runs with a starter scoring. Each starter scoring 1 run. 3-1 to Matsui. Now, if that's not a statistical oddity, I don't know what
That's
is.
a little strange. Everybody got in the act last night, though.
3-1 to Matsui. So Ricky Weeks at second. 1 away. So Campion has come out in relief, retired all 4 batters to face him. Let's look at the defensive gem of the game, brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. This came in the first inning. First batter, Ricky Weeks, and Beltran with a nice sliding grab. And here's Carlos, who's gone 0 for 3 at the plate. Hit one to the warning track in center that Brady Clark ran down his last trip. 1-0 to Beltran.
One thing working against the Mets here, Gary, is the good contrast between Doug Davis and Jose Campion. Davis, a soft tosser for the most part, and was certainly today, and Campion brings it.
1-1 to Beltran. 25-year-old Jose Campion. Two and 1 to Beltran. Dan Kolb, the right-hander, and Brian Schaus, who just joined the Brewers today, the left-hander. Schaus acquired in a deal with Texas yesterday in a trade for Pedro Martinez's brother-in-law, Enrique Cruz, who started out in the Mets organization. Brian Schaus has certainly made some pit stops in his career. Good breaking ball. Beltran swings through it 2-2.
He would qualify as an itinerant left-hander.
Nice looking slider from Campion.
Mixes that pitch in with a fastball. He's tough to beat.
Just missed with that fastball. 3-2. Well, the Mets need to get a base runner to get the tying run to the plate here in the 7th. You got Delgado standing on deck. Maybe we'll see Schaus to face him. Brewers were looking for a situational lefty. Their other lefty in the bullpen is Jorge De La Rosa, who's been inconsistent. Beltran pops it up foul. That'll come out of play. The Brewers are carrying a 13-man pitching staff. I believe they're the only club in the National League doing that. That's pretty tough with only 4 players on your bench.
It's very tough to do in the National League, no question. American League a little bit easier, but 13 in the National League is tough.
Getting a long game. You run out of players very quickly. Now there's ball 4, and so Beltran gets aboard for Delgado. Well, Beltran continues to draw his walks. That's the 24th walk that he has drawn. He's only had 93 at-bats. Well, here comes Ned Yost, and Brian Schaus is going to make his Brewers debut. They'll come on to face Delgado. Tying run at the plate. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar. 4-2 Milwaukee in the 7th. Here's Brian Schaus. I can't believe he's never pitched in Japan.
God. I didn't think he was that old.
Did we have him? I didn't know we had him for 4 games in 2000.
God.
How about that?
I don't remember that.
Did you remember that?
No, absolutely not. God. Jesus.
That was one of those got him on waivers, lost him on waivers kind of things, I'll bet. Does it say? We'll see.
Let's see.
Signed with the Mets, released by the Mets, April 14th.
Oh, okay.
I guess we didn't like him much. Wow. That's pretty early to get released. 4 appearances, April 14th.
Oh, you did pitch in Japan.
Huh?
You did pitch in Japan.
Oh, I didn't have that on here.
Kentetsu, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so you got a more complete. The Buffaloes. Oh, they both majors and minors. Yeah. The Pacific League and then the Western League.
Okay. I got you.
Jose Campion retired 4 of the 5 batters to face him and gives way to the lefty Brian Schaus, just acquired by the Brewers. Let's check out the Toyota National League scoreboard. Alfonso Soriano with a home run in that Washington 8-0 lead over Atlanta. Meanwhile, the Phillies, who've been red hot, 1-1 in the 10th at Cincinnati. The Marlins with a Miguel Cabrera home run lead at Pittsburgh. Houston up 3-0 behind Andy Pettit. Arizona and St. Louis tied in the 6th. Cardinals have won 7 of 8. Mets will be there Tuesday night. And the red hot Padres, winners of 12 of 13, leading the Cubs. Well, here's Schaus, who was with Texas until yesterday. 37-year-old lefty. They'll sidearm it, and tough for lefties to hit as Delgado stands in. Tying run at the plate.
Tough test for his new team, first batter that he has to face, Carlos Delgado.
Well, this is why he was brought here.
Yep.
Situational left-hander, might just be in for the one batter with right-handers to follow. Danny Kolb up in the bullpen. Fastball misses high, and it's 2-0. 83-mile-an-hour fastball. Well, that's why he's a situational lefty.
Exactly. Yeah, he is a funky delivery, a little hitch in his delivery, but not really a sidearm kind of guy. Oh, there's
Delgado swings through the fastball.
Coming sidearm that time, dropped down a little bit. He came more sidearm that time than he did the first two pitches.
That would be tough for a lefty to follow. 2-2 to Delgado. The Mets actually had Brian Schaus for a very brief period of time. In 2000, they had signed him as a free agent, sent him to Norfolk. He was in 4 games, and the Mets released him in the middle of April. But he landed on his feet. He's pitched in the big leagues with Pittsburgh, Boston, Kansas City, Texas. Spent some time in Japan. He looked at Dan Kolb in the bullpen. Beltran at first and 1 away, 4-2 Milwaukee, 7th inning. See the overshift against Delgado. Third baseman playing 70 feet from the line. Beltran runs and Carlos fouls it off. The New York City Health Department reminds you that the nicotine patch is now available for eligible New York City residents. For more information, call 311. Beltran got a read on Schaus's move and took off on that last pitch. Carlos has just started to run again. Coming back from the hamstring. Fastball blooped. Weeks boots it. And the tying runs are on. Beltran will stop at second. Ricky Weeks, who's made more errors than any second baseman in the majors, trying to pick up that short hop, and he booted it for his 12th error of the year.
Well, there had to be a lot of spin on that ball, Gary, the way it came off Carlos Delgado's bat, and I think that's exactly what happened. I think Weeks might have froze for a second and thought about trying to catch that in the air, decided to play it on a hop, and a bad decision because with the spin, he couldn't handle it.
Well, that'll be the only batter Brian Schaus faces. Danny Kolb will come out of the bullpen to face David Wright. The Mets with the tying runs on base here in the 7th inning. 4-2 Milwaukee as Kolb comes in. Alrighty, boys.
Got a shot.
Might be nice to score a run every now and again.
Pitcher batter?
Yeah.
Kolb, right?
Kolb,
They must have faced each other.
Probably. 0 for 1.
0 for 1.
Although that does not include the other night. Did he face him the other night? Yeah, Wright got a base hit in the 9th inning. So he's 1 for 2. 1 for 2. Oh, it's fun. It's a challenge. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Got any more cliches? New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Infinity, using the power of design to create dynamic, beautiful automobiles. It is Mother's Day. Pink patches on the bases, pink ribbons on players' jerseys, pink wristbands, pink bats, all to raise awareness for the need for breast cancer research as Dan Kolb takes over the pitching. Back in Milwaukee after an ill-fated year in Atlanta. Brought in to face David Wright in a 4-2 game, tying runs aboard with 1 out. And David takes a strike. Wright is 0 for 1. He's also walked twice today and scored a run. Cole pitched in the series opener on Friday night and had a rough go of it, trying to finish off a 9-4 game in the ninth, but couldn't seal the deal. Gave up a couple of runs. And Wright had a base hit against Kolb in that inning.
Knocked in one of those runs, RBI single in the ninth. 1 for 2 in his career against Kolb.
Xavier Nady waiting on deck. So Brian Schaus faced one batter, got a ground ball from Delgado, but it was booted by Weeks, giving the Mets a chance here in the 7th. And Wright takes a fastball strike. And as Kolb threw that pitch, Ricky Weeks was standing on second base waiting for a pickoff throw that didn't come. Roy Randolph unhappy with this strike call.
Thought it was a little bit outside, maybe a little high as well.
Ted Barrett has had a few that have been questioned today. Wright with an emergency swing fouls that one off.
Well, Barrett is known as a take charge kind of umpire. He might have missed a few pitches here today, but
he didn't take charge last night in the right field corner.
No, that's for sure.
He didn't say home run. It was the home plate umpire Tim Cheetah who overruled him, and Barrett went along, even though it was the wrong call.
Mm-hmm. He had a bad angle, too, going straight down the line at it.
1-2 to right. Popped it up, but it'll come back out of play. So David hanging in there at 1-2. Early in the season, David was not striking out at all. He has begun striking out a bit more. 27 strikeouts now in 137 at bats. And he lines a base hit into right field. Beltran around third. It gets by Jenkins. Delgado heads to third. He's being waved around by Manny Acta. The relay throw by Weeks, not in time, and the game is tied. David Wright with a run-scoring hit, and Jenkins' error allows a second run to score, and the Mets are even at 4-4.
Big break for the Mets. Back-to-back errors by the Brewers, and as you see David Wright do so often, goes the other way to right field. The ball getting by Jenkins. Normally pretty good outfielder, but he has a ton of errors this year as well. And back-to-back errors, Weeks and Jenkins, two guys who have really hurt them this year, help the Mets here in the 7th inning.
Well, they're saying no error. They're giving Wright a double, which is very strange because that was clearly an error on Jenkins. In any event, Wright will take it. He gets 2 RBIs. And now he's the go-ahead run at second as Nady takes a strike.
That is a strange call. There is no way that Delgado gets home unless that ball gets past Jenkins.
I guess the official scorer felt it was too tough a play. Nady fouls it off. But certainly from here, it looked like a ball that Jenkins absolutely had to have. So Wright has his 10th double. He now has 26 RBIs. Moving up on Delgado for the club lead. He's only 3 behind him. So the Mets have drawn even. And now Nady trying to get them the lead. Xavier 0 for 2 and a walk. And Kolb misses. Here's the play again. You tell me.
Oh,
you've got to cut that ball off.
Absolutely. That's the 4th error that Jenkins has in right field, and he's normally a pretty good glove man out there.
Well, it would have been his 4th error, but they didn't give him one.
That's true.
Maybe they're trying to protect his fielding percentage. In any event, we talked about it at the outset of this series, and it really has come into play quite a number of times. This Brewer team does not play very good defense. You saw Carlos Lee mess up Jose Valentin's double back in the 2nd inning. Weeks with the error in this inning, and then Jenkins failing to cut that ball off. 1-2 to Nady. Struck him out. Good sinker by Danny Kolb to strike out Nady. 2 away. Third time date he's been struck out this afternoon. So 2 down, and here's Castro. And as has generally been the case when Ramon has gotten to play, he's contributed at the plate today. A walk and a single, 1 for 2. What Ramon has not done well is hit with runners in scoring position, and that's been a team-wide affair. There's a strike. Castro 1 for 8 this year with runners in scoring position.
And Gary, this is a guy who did a great job of that last year. All season long, he hit over 300 with runners in scoring position, and has not been able to duplicate that this season.
Juaner Sanchez up in the Mets bullpen trying to shake off last night's difficulties. And Cole bounces the breaking ball, 1-1. Mets have scored twice here in the 7th to tie it, so Pedro Martinez off the hook. Whether he's still in the game or not is going to depend on whether his spot comes up, I would think. Pedro's thrown 97 pitches through 6 innings. And Castro takes a strike, 1-2. Pedro's spot in the batting order till still 2 spots away. Right at second and 2 down. 4-4, 7th inning. 2-2 to Castro. So put Floyd with a bat in his hands. Likely would be the pinch hitter if the Mets wind up batting for Pedro here in the 7th.
Jose Valentin, switch hitter on deck.
Dan Kolb, who washed out as the closer in Atlanta last year. 2-2 to Castro. Little dribbler. And Koski has plenty of time. Throws out Castro to end the inning. But the Mets take advantage of shoddy defense by the Brewers to get the game even. 4-4, and Pedro takes the mound for the bottom of the 7th. So 1 earned, 1 unearned.
Right. 1-1.
We go to the bottom of the 7th. Mets and Brewers tied 4-4. This Friday, the battle for New York's baseball bragging rights take place here on the WB11. Mets, Yankees, the showdown at Shea. This is the one game you don't want to miss. Pre-game special starts at 6:30 here on the WB11. Well, Pedro Martinez has watched his team even things up. Met fans in attendance here today. They have changed the scoring, by the way, on what had been ruled a double for David Wright, and properly so. Upon further review, they're now scoring at a single, 1 RBI for Wright, and then an error on Jeff Jenkins, allowing the second run to score. And that's as it should be. So 2 errors in that 7th inning by the Brewers. No, it's the 7th inning stretch. And in most ballparks, that means take me out to the ball game, but this is Milwaukee, and it means roll out the barrel.
It's polka time.
And you know what? I never knew the words to roll out the barrel until we started coming here to Milwaukee, and they actually show the words on the center field scoreboard, and everybody sings along and has a good time. And well,
Do you have them down now?
They roll out the barrel. Oh, the gang's all here.
There you go.
So sing out a song of good cheer. Corey Koski will lead off for the Brewers in the bottom of the 7th inning. First pitch driven foul. Oh, it makes it to the upper deck. And back out again. So Koski, who's walked and doubled in this game, is ready for the first one from Pedro here in the 7th.
Well, he has shown some power here in this series. Home run last night. Booming double earlier.
Pedro comes back with a cutter. 0-2 to Koski.
Well, the game is back where the Mets want it, in Pedro's hands, and a tie score. We'll see if he can get through this inning here.
Damian Miller on deck, and then Brady Clark here in the bottom of the 7th. Pedro's allowed only 3 hits, but all for extra bases, 2 home runs and a double. 1-2 to Koski.
Gary, Mets have done a good job taking series this year, but they need this one today.
2-2 to Koski.
Or they will have dropped their 2nd series in a row. 8-2 with a couple of splits thus far in 12 series this year. They get this one today, that would push them to 9-2. They sit 10 over 500 coming in.
Got him with a curveball. And Pedro strikes out Koski for the first out. That's 10 strikeouts for Pedro, 3rd time this year, and the 2nd straight start he's gotten to double digits. Let's check out the Toyota American League scoreboard. See Detroit leading Cleveland in the 8th. Another loss for Randy Johnson as Dan Herron and the A's beat him today. Josh Towers finally got a win after starting out 0-7 for Toronto. Kansas City and Baltimore 4-4 in the 7th. There's Matt Wise up in the Milwaukee bullpen. So Pedro 3 times this year to 10 or more strikeouts. Now 107 times in his career. That's 4th on the all-time list, and he's closing in on Roger Clemens for 3rd. And Miller lines another base hit. Well, I'll tell you what, Damian Miller has become a different hitter. 2 for 3 today as he pushes his batting average up toward 340.
Well, he had a couple of hits and a sacrifice fly on Friday. Homered yesterday to tie the game after Koski's dramatic 3-run homer. And he seems to be able to take a much shorter swing this year. He used to have a big looping swing and a lot of holes in it, Gary, but seems to be, lessening up a little bit, lightening up a little bit. Just push that one into center field.
Normally Ned Yost would play Chad Moeller day game after a night game as you look at Juaner Sanchez warming up, but Miller's been so hot, you don't want to sit him, and that's why he's playing today. Here's Brady Clark. 1 out and 1 on. Miller no threat to run, but Pedro checks in on him. Clark has taken a call 3rd strike and popped up. He's looked overmatched today by Martinez. Gabe Gross, the only left-handed bat on the Brewers bench, out on deck to pinch hit. Double play ball to short. Reyes to Matsui to first. Double play, side retired.
6-4-3 double play, and Martinez gets through the 7th. So Pedro with 7 solid innings, and it's a 4-4 game as we go to the 8th.
See Cliffy here? Probably.
I would think. 107 pitches. Leading off? Oh, it's second.
No, second.
Well, depends.
I would
get somebody on, you put up Chavez to bunt. This guy, we can't hit him. Got that great changeup.
That was.
He's the best relief pitcher nobody knows about. You got that they changed the scoring, right?
Yes. Yep. Which is as it should be.
Well, it's good when they get it right. Takes an RBI away from David, but too bad. Wise man. Well, get him a win, you got to get him a run. We can meet the Mets. Hey, Mets fans, always traveling and missing games. Watch Mets games live online whenever you're away from New York, exclusively on MLB.tv. Mets.com has more live games than anyone else. Mets.com, where baseball is always on. Pedro Martinez appears to be done after 7. Allowed just 4 hits, a couple of home runs, 4 runs, and if the Mets are to get Pedro a win, they need to get him a run here in the 8th inning. We'll say Valentin will lead off, and Andy Chavez will come out on deck to pinch hit against Matt Wise, who has one of the best changeups in the game. Valentin 2 for 3, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Wise doesn't throw hard, but Mets have never been able to touch him. He's got that great right-hander's changeup. Comes up and in on Valentin. 1-1.
Sometimes you get lost in the shuffle here in Milwaukee, Gary. Last year, 37 hits in 64 innings. I mean, he pitched terrific for them last year. Was also with them the year before.
He's the best pitcher nobody knows about in this league. There's the changeup, 1-2. So Andy Chavez out on deck. Although if Valentin doesn't get on, maybe you see Floyd instead of Chavez.
Possibly.
Base hit into right field, and Valentin has his 3rd hit of the game. Where did this come from?
Welcome back to Milwaukee.
I mean, this is a guy who last year hit a .170 for the Dodgers, was hurt most of the year, didn't hit it all this spring, didn't hit it all for the first 6 weeks of the season, gets a chance to play the last 2 days, and he's got 5 hits in his last 6 at-bats.
Well, he felt it coming. He was talking about it prior to the game today. He kind of felt it coming, his swing coming around the last couple of weeks, but he needed at-bats. He had been getting just one at a time pinch hitting. The start yesterday obviously helped, and he's continuing it today.
Well, he had 5 hits going into yesterday. He's got 5 hits in 2 days. Chavez up there, and the Brewers look for the bunt.
I think you're right, Gary. If Valentin had made out there, you go for the long ball. Cliff Floyd obviously can give you that, even though Cliff has struggled this year. But now Chavez up with the runner on.
Koski creeps in from 3rd. And Wise looking Valentin back to the bag. Hard to think that Valentin would be stealing a base. He might play hit and run with Chavez, who's done a great job putting his bat on the ball. Andy hitting at .311. He had 61 at bats. And gets a beautiful bunt down. So Andy Chavez moves Valentin up to 2nd with the go-ahead run. 1-3 on the sacrifice. The Mets' third sacrifice bunt in this game. Pedro had a pair. So now Reyes will try and get the run in, and he's had opportunities before today. But Jose has gone 0 for 4. Chavez getting congratulations for getting the bunt down. It's a sea of pink.
Well, there haven't been too many things that Endy Chavez has been asked to do this year that he's failed at. He has really been a pleasant surprise for Willie Randolph, both in the field and at the plate.
So let's see how Reyes handles Matt Wise. He's 0 for 2 against Wise in his career. And Wise looks Valentine back. Matt Wise is 30 years old. He had Tommy John surgery in 2003 and has come back from that and been a far better pitcher than he was before. Here's that changeup, 1-0 to Reyes. He had been in the Anaheim organization.
Mostly as a starter, though, with the Angels.
Right.
I think he's found his niche here in the bullpen.
Well, the Angels didn't want him after Tommy John surgery, so the Brewers gave him a chance. Minor league contract 2 years ago, and he has blossomed as a setup man. Reyes pops it up. Koski in from third. 2 away.
Tough day at the plate for Jose Reyes. He has not had a lot of good swings. Didn't get one there on the Wise changeup. Now 0 for 5.
So an 0 for 5 afternoon for Reyes, and it's left to Kaz Matsui. Mets have already left 9 runners on base through the first 7 innings. They've had numerous chances. They were able to score a couple in the 7th thanks to a couple of Milwaukee errors and one big hit by David Wright. Cliff Floyd still waiting in the dugout for his chance. Matsui today 1 for 3 and a walk. Looking to pick up Valentine from second with the go-ahead run. Jorge De La Rosa up in the Milwaukee bullpen. Slider from Wise, 1-0. There's Sanchez, who's done a ton of throwing. He'll be on to pitch in the bottom of the 8th. With Pedro having left for a pinch hitter, Martinez's only chance to get a win is if the Mets score right here. Two and 0 to Matsui. Well, if you're Matt Wise, you want to go right after Matsui here with Beltran to follow.
And Delgado after that, you would be wise to do so, absolutely.
3-0. And the Mets have already drawn 6 walks in this game. Matsui in particular has been very patient in this game. And he will almost certainly take a pitch here on 3-0. Right down the middle, 3-1.
Might take another one here. Quite possibly. Beltran on deck.
Kaz has been getting his hits, but he's only driven in 5 runs this year, hitting 148 with runners in scoring position. 3-1. Good changeup by Wise. Well, that's, a guy with a good changeup has to be able to throw it in fastball counts.
Nasty. Brought Matsui down to one knee. Completely out in front of it.
3-2 to Kaz. Off the end of the bat. Koski will make the throw on target. Inning over. Let's get a leadoff hit from Valentine, but they can't score him. 10 left on base for the Mets. Still 4-4. Oh boy.
Well, W or L? What say you?
We're going to win.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I think we win in the 12th. No, seriously, because Turnbow's not going to give it up again today. He'll bring Turnbow on for the 9th.
Right.
And he'll probably pitch 2 innings.
Yep.
Yeah. Johnson goes again Wednesday.
Yes.
Good job. All right. He goes back to being lights out today, right?
Sanchez? Yep.
This Friday, the battle for New York's baseball bragging rights takes place here on the WB11. Mets, Yankees, the showdown at Shea. This is the one game you don't want to miss. Pre-game special starts at 6:30 here on the WB11. Met fans in attendance in Milwaukee. Another tight game today after the Mets yanked one out 9-8 last night. Pedro Martinez will get a no decision today, and so he'll remain at 5-0 for the year as Juan Sanchez takes over in a tie game in the bottom of the 8th. Sanchez will try and bounce back from last night. As we look at the Toyota line score, Pedro gave up only 4 hits, but a couple of home runs. Gabe Gross, pinch hitting, leads off against Sanchez and takes a curveball for a strike. I don't think I've seen Sanchez start a hitter off with a curveball all year.
Well, he wants to change his luck up a little bit. Obviously, a bad performance last night. Right back on the horse today.
Gave up the back-to-back homers to Koski and Miller last night. And Gross lifts one foul. 0-2. Well, Sanchez had been practically perfect until this road trip. Gave up a run in Philadelphia Tuesday. And then the 4 last night. Could have been worse, except Chad Bradford came on and shut the door in that 8th inning last night, and then the Mets won it in the 9th on Loduca's home run. Curveball, a little bit high. 1-2. Ricky Weeks on deck. He's homered each of the last 2 days. And Bill Hall after that. 2-2 to Gross. Gabe Gross sitting at 244. He's got 4 home runs and only 45 at bats. He's dangerous. Came from the Blue Jays and the Lyle Overbay deal, along with Dave Bush. And Sanchez misses with the fastball, 3-2. Well, he was ahead 0-2 on Gross. Last thing in the world Juan wants to do is walk the leadoff hitter. He walked the second man to face him last night and gave up a base hit to Fielder before the 2 home runs. 3-2 to Gross. And a sinking line drive into right. Nady can't make the play. And Gross is aboard with a leadoff single. Good effort by Nady. But the Brewers have the lead man on.
Nady protected that as well and got his glove up there to make sure to knock the ball down. That's a disaster if it gets behind Xavier. Rolls to the fence. That's 3 bases for Gross. Has to keep him to a single there.
So Gross is aboard leading off in the bottom of the 8th against Sanchez. And let's see how Ned Yost plays this. You've got Weeks, who's homered each of the last 2 days. Let's see whether he's asked to sacrifice with Hall and Jenkins to follow.
Gary Sanchez, it seems, works better when he has a lot of work, and he hasn't gotten a lot of work lately. He had 3 straight games back on May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but since then it's been spotty.
Weeks fouls off the bunt attempt. So at least on the first pitch, Weeks is being asked to move Gross over with a sacrifice.
This is a guy who had, 79 appearances last year, likes to work quite frequently, and likes to go 2 innings a lot of times, too.
Well, he got work last night.
Yes, he did.
Wright creeping in at third. Weeks shows bunt and a pickoff, and he nearly got him. Sanchez almost had Gross getting back to the bag.
A lot of times you'll see a runner leaning the other way. That was not the case with Gross. Just a good snap move over there by Sanchez.
Just got the pinky in. And Weeks pushes the bunt. And Delgado drops it. And everybody's safe. Confusion between Sanchez and Delgado. But Delgado, once he picked it up, bobbled it. It'll be an error. And the Brewers have first and second and nobody out.
Well, the error will go to Delgado, but you can give an assist to Sanchez, who didn't clear out of there in time. I don't know whether there was lack of communication between the two, but Sanchez stepping right in front of Delgado just as he bent to pick up the ball.
Still, though, Eddie, he did pick it up. He had the ball, and then he dropped it. He had enough time once he picked it up to make the play, so even though Sanchez distracted him, the play was still there. So now Sanchez has a real mess. First and second and nobody out. And let's see if the Brewers bunt with Hall. Hall has struck out all 3 times up today, so you figure he's bunting. Takes ball 1. So a leadoff hit as Nady tried to make the diving catch and came up just a bit short. And then a sacrifice bunt. Weeks reaching on Delgado's error. 4-4, bottom of the 8th, and Sanchez has a mess. 2-0. You see Hall, 1 sacrifice this season. What you don't know from the raw sacrifice statistics, of course, is how many times a guy's been asked to bunt and whether he was successful doing it. And now Castro trying to get Sanchez back on the right page. Sanchez was on only 1 page for the first 6 weeks of the season. But now all of a sudden things are not coming quite as easily. Delgado's error was his 3rd of the year. 2-0 to Hall. He gets the bunt down. Castro will go to first. Matsui covering. And that moves the runners to second and third. So back-to-back sacrifices by the Brewers, and now they have second and third and 1 out. And let's see how the Mets attack this with Jenkins and Lee, the 2 hitters coming up.
Left-hander, right-hander coming up. Jenkins here, first base open.
Do you notice how both Sanchez and Delgado peeled out of the way when Castro picked that ball up?
Absolutely.
Well, you got to pitch to Jenkins here. Lee is the far more dangerous hitter, and Jenkins strikes out a ton.
Exactly.
The infield comes in, second and third and 1 out. Fastball strike, 0-1 to Jenkins. Jenkins has struck out twice today, 45 times this year, and 150 at bats. And that's what Sanchez has got to be thinking in this spot as Chad Bradford and Pedro Feliciano start to get ready. One and 1 to Jenkins. Willie Randolph probably still bemoaning that bunt play that wasn't executed properly.
Well, a manager hates to see that, especially late in the game after you come back to forge a tie.
1-1 to Jenkins. Slider misses. 2-1.
Jenkins has already struck out twice here today. Exactly what Sanchez is looking for here.
Misses with a changeup, and it's 3-1. Well, he wouldn't be heartbroken if he walked him because it would set up the double play with Carlos Lee coming up. But it is not coming easily for Sanchez at all right now.
And it is Carlos Lee who is their most dangerous hitter.
Pedro handled him well today. Got Lee to pop the ball up 3 times in a row. 3-1 to Jenkins. Lifted to center. That'll get the run in at least. Beltran back. Reels it in. But Gross tags at third. And the Brewers regain the lead. It's 5-4 Milwaukee.
Well, Jeff Jenkins has been a thorn in the Mets' side in this series. On Friday night, the bases clearing double. That was the big blow. And here he gets the job done. Bat on the ball, gets it deep enough to easily score Gross from third.
Well, the bunt play not executed properly looms large. So after the Mets took advantage of shoddy Milwaukee defense to play 2 in the 7th, the Brewers take advantage of a Mets error to get the lead run home in the 8th. Here's Lee with a runner at third and 2 out. And he takes a strike. Gabe Gross with the leadoff single. Weeks laid down the bunt. Delgado made the error. Hall moved them along with a sacrifice. And now Derek Turnbow has a lead to protect in the 9th. To third, foul ball.
By the way, Gary, Jenkins has 21 RBIs on the year. 10 of those have been against the Mets. Half of his RBIs.
He has struggled in almost every other respect.
And his error, a costly one, his latest error, allowed the tying run at the time to score.
So he makes amends. 1 and 2 to Lee. Now looking ahead to the 9th, the Mets will have the heart of the batting order coming up. Beltran, Delgado, and Wright. Derek Turnbow took the loss last night. He'll be looking to redeem himself. Sanchez trying to keep it a 1-run game. But Lee hits one to deep right center. Playable though, Nady. And the inning is over. So the Brewers put up an unearned run in the bottom of the 8th. We go to the 9th, and Turnbow will come in to try to protect it. Yuck. Fuel.
We're dead.
You think? You think? New York Mets baseball is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. The latest offers from Chevrolet. By TD Financial Group, paying serious attention to what counts, you. By Nissan and your Nissan dealers. By Verizon Online DSL, now as low as $17.99 a month. And by Dodge, you can take life as it comes or you can grab life by the horns. Juan Sanchez giving up an unearned run. And right now, that run is the difference in the game as we go to the 9th and Derek Turnbow comes on. Turnbow, with 11 saves, has not blown one this year. 12 saves. That came on Friday night. 12 for 12 on the season. Took the loss last night coming into a tie game. Now he's got a 1-run lead to protect as Carlos Beltran leads off the 9th. Beltran 0 for 3 and a walk. And Turnbow throws a strike. Slider to start him off. Well, Turnbow couldn't get the job done on his bobblehead night last night. Carlos Delgado looming on deck. Paul Loduca beat him with a home run. He throws a changeup, and it's 1-1 to Beltran. Beltran had a base hit right after Loduca's home run, but then Delgado grounded into a double play. Otherwise, the Mets would have had more against Turnbow. If you look at Loduca. 5-4 Milwaukee, 9th inning. Beltran fouls one off his foot. And while Beltran walks it off, we'll take a look at the Jeep game summary. Another big day for Jose Valentin, his second straight, but Damian Miller's 3-run homer put the Brewers in front early. Pedro gave up just 4 hits over 7 innings, struck out 10 for the second straight start. But the Brewers with an unearned run in the bottom of the 8th after Delgado's error. And the Mets in danger of dropping 2 of 3 here in Milwaukee after losing 2 of 3 in Philadelphia.
Well, the 2 Milwaukee errors helped the Mets tie up the game at 4, but Mets give it right back with their error on the sacrifice.
1-2 to Beltran. And Turnbow staying away from the fastball against Beltran. Here's a guy who throws 98.
Well, there's not too much doubt about what's going on when Derek Turnbow comes in the game. He's going to fire and fire and fire and keep firing. But today he's throwing a changeup in there, a slider, so he's come at you different ways, trying to give the Mets a different look here today.
He's pitched in all 3 games in this series. There's the fastball, and he strikes out Beltran 1 away. 97 miles an hour from Turnbow for the first down.
Yeah, I was going to say that maybe he didn't have his best fastball today, but I stand corrected on that. 97. Maybe that's why he was going a different route. Blew that one right by Beltran.
So 1 down in the 9th. And here is Delgado. He reached on an error by Ricky Weeks that helped set the stage for a couple of Met runs in the 7th. And then his error gave the Brewers the lead in the 8th. 1 out and nobody on. David Wright on deck. David's been on base 3 times today. Delgado 0 for 3. He's also been hit by a pitch. The infield overshift is on. And he drives one toward the gap in right center field, heading toward the wall. It's 1 hop over the fence for a ground rule double. Carlos Delgado with a rope to right center field, and the Mets have the tying run in scoring position with 1 out.
Well, Delgado has come up with big hit after big hit this year. Gives the Mets a chance, gives them a life right here. Into scoring position and a couple outs to go.
So the Mets trying to do it to Derek Turnbow again. And David Wright, who drove in a run and then had a second run score on an error with a base hit in the 7th inning, will get another chance. They originally gave David credit for a double and 2 RBIs, so he had an RBI taken away. He has 25 for the year, 4 behind Delgado for the club lead. Xavier Nady on deck. 5-4 Milwaukee, 9th inning. And Wright takes a strike. Fastball from Turnbow. Derek Turnbow taken off the scrap heap from Anaheim. The Brewers got him on waivers, and he has turned into an elite closer just like that. Slider misses. 1-1. Turnbow saved 39 games for the Brewers last year, pitched to a 1.74 ERA. And he's 12 for 12 this year. One to right. Another slider, and he misses. 2-1. So much like we've seen Billy Wagner do on numerous occasions this year, Turnbow, the guy who can hit triple digits on the radar gun, mixing in his breaking ball.
Well, the one time he needed it, he blew one by Carlos Beltran, but Delgado got him, and now he falls behind Wright here.
And Wright takes inside, ball 3. Well, a walk to Wright would put not only the tying but potential lead run on base, with Nady to follow. Delgado with average speed at second base. And they're playing deep enough in the outfield against Wright that just about any hit could get him home. Jenkins has the best arm in right. 3-1 to David. Bouncing ball. Delgado trying to advance. Hall makes the throw to first. Got him for the second out. Well, Delgado took a gamble and moved up on the ground ball hit in front of him. He was hit slowly enough that he was able to do so without a play.
And Hall taking the shore out there. On the run with a pretty good throw. Guns it over to first in time to get Wright.
So now the Mets are down to their final out of the afternoon with the tying run 90 feet away. Nady has walked and then struck out 3 times in a row. Derek Turnbow trying to save it for the Brewers. Nady hits a ground ball toward the hole. Flag down by Hall. His jumping throw is... It dropped. It is dropped. They were about to call him out, but the game is tied. The first base umpire, Laz Diaz, had his arm cocked to call him out, but the throw was not handled by Fielder. And Delgado scores the tying run. The game is even at 5-5.
And he was out. A great play by Hall, and Fielder just couldn't hold as he tried to hold his foot on the bag. Ball squirting away from him. But a great jumping, leaping throw by Bill Hall. And they would have had Nady if Fielder could have held on. But when he came down to the turf, Gary, ball popped loose.
It goes as an infield hit for Nady to drive home the tying run. And how big does Delgado's advance on the previous ground ball look? So now here's Castro in a 5-5 game. The Mets were that close to defeat. Had Fielder been able to hold that throw, the game would have been over. Instead, Nady gets the infield single to drive in the run that ties the game. So Turnbow blows a save for the first time this season. And Castro hits one in the air to shallow left center. Angling in is Clark. And he makes the diving catch. The inning is over, but the Mets get even. Delgado doubles and scores on the infield hit by Nady. Clark prevents further damage. It's 5-5.
Wow.
I can't believe that was even a close play.
I know. Well, he can't run. Yeah, speed.
Who's coming in? Feliciano? Oh, my God. Oh, I got Fielder and Cosby. So
yeah.
One of them will homer.
Lefty against lefty.
I guess
Who else?
Halma's not available. Huh?
Halma's not available. Who else is up? They're going to go, yeah. Nobody else up? Got Bradford maybe?
Well, maybe Bradford in for Miller, the way he's going.
And just is he? I think he's standing up out there. Just when I saw him stretching his arms a little bit. He hasn't warmed yet.
Are we certain he was out? I mean, I know Diaz was not to call him out. Was he
think
definitely
he was,
out?
Yeah. I think he was out, yeah. Yeah, I think he had him. You can look at it again if you want. But,
I'm sure we will look at it again.
Okay, good.
We got 2 more looks at it.
Good.
How about that? Who? Well, Derek Turnbow was within inches of registering a save thanks to a great play by Bill Hall. Very close play at first base, and he would have been out, but Fielder had the ball come out of his glove when that glove hit the ground. Laz Diaz was all set to call Nady out, but Nady with the infield hit tied up the ball game. And now Prince Fielder, who could not hold that throw, leads off the bottom of the ninth against Pedro Feliciano.
Laz Diaz's arm was cocked and ready to go, and it would have been a good call. It was a good, great play by Hall, but pops out of the glove of Fielder, and the Mets get a second chance.
So with the two lefties, Fielder and Koski due to start off the bottom of the ninth, it's Feliciano who gets the call in a 5-5 game. And he throws the curveball for a strike to Fielder. Fielder has walked and struck out twice today, 0 for 2. Mets led 2-0, trailed 4-2, tied it up, fell behind, and tied it again. And a good breaking ball had Fielder completely befuddled, 0-2. Feliciano has given up some inherited runs, but his ERA at 0.84. Fastball just missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That one crossed up Ted Barrett.
Feliciano thought he had strike 3 right there. Letter high fastball.
We've seen some pitches in that area called strikes today for sure. 1-2 to Fielder. Breaking ball struck him out. Feliciano strikes out Fielder, who goes down for the 3rd time today.
Well, had him thinking fastball maybe, but came with a breaking ball there and a nasty one when Feliciano drops down, which he does very often coming from the side. Very tough to hit that breaking ball. Very tough to get a good look at it out of his hand.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's Koski, who's walked and doubled today, 1 for 2. Smacks one foul. Feliciano's only problems this year have come when he's come in with inherited runners on. He's inherited 13, allowed 5 to score. But when he comes in at the start of an inning, he's been tremendous. Misses with a fastball. 1-1 to Koski.
The K's are piling up again. 11 strikeouts for Mets pitchers thus far today.
Chad Bradford getting ready. You got right-hand hitters to follow, Miller and Clark. Koski fouls it away, 1-2. Corey Koski hit the 3-run homer last night that got the Brewers comeback started. Miller homered last night. He's homered again today. So this may be Feliciano's last batter. As hot as Miller is, you've got to think about bringing in the right-hander just to face him, even with 2 out and nobody on. Breaking ball hit to third. Wright boots it. Recovers. Throws too late. David Wright has really struggled, particularly in 9th innings of games. He threw one away last night. He boots a 9th inning grounder today.
And David's talked about this problem before, that sometimes he thinks too much out there. Instead of just reacting, making the plays that he knows he can make, starts thinking too much about if a ground ball is coming my way. What do I do? Do I get in front of it?
7th error. Wasn't charged with one last night. Willie's going to make a double switch. He'll bring Bradford into the game. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar as Bradford comes out of the bullpen for New York. Going to move Valentine to right. Eek.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's scary.
Yee. All right. Luciano.
Floyd Bennett's left. Valentine goes to right. Richard at 6. Yeah, Valentine moved to right. If the game's still going, I'm running to the can after this inning.
Okay, got it.
Did you hear that?
What?
He said Eddie will bring us home.
Crash landing.
We've done this before, believe it or not. It's a different broadcast. It's a totally different broadcast. Right. Mets make a double switch. Cliff Floyd comes in to play left field. He'll bat ninth. Jose Valentine moves from left field to right field, and on to pitches Chad Bradford. He'll hit in the sixth spot as Nady comes out. Bradford was the winning pitcher last night. Now he'll try and hold the fort here in the bottom of the ninth in a 5-5 game. Damian Miller has a 3-run homer and a single today, now hitting .340. He's homered each of the last 2 days. Koski at first and 1 out. And Bradford keeping an eye on Koski, who's not really a stolen base threat. But the way Miller's been swinging the bat, you wouldn't put it past Ned Yost to play hit and run here. And Miller waves at the breaking ball, 0-1.
Totally crossing up Miller there.
Trying to time it, he swung late.
65 miles an hour.
Bradford and Miller were battery mates in Oakland 2 years ago. So he knows Bradford's stuff. And he's late again on the breaking ball, 0-2. He's trying to wait for the breaking ball, but he winds up swinging too late.
Totally out in front.
Now Bradford ahead on Miller, 0-2. Damian Miller off to the hottest start of his career. Brady Clark on deck. 5-5 last of the ninth. 0-2 to Miller. 1-2. Chad Bradford appearing for the 17th time. What you like about Bradford is he doesn't walk people. But when he hangs that breaking ball, it can be trouble.
You have to wonder whether he's going to top 70 miles per hour in this appearance.
May not want to.
May not. Not the way Miller's swinging.
Threw the fastball and missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 81 mile an hour fastball.
And it's not so much, when you look at the miles per hour on his fastball, it's the difference that you've got between, the curve that he floats up or the changeup and his fastball.
And of course, the angle of release against right-hand batters. 2-2 to Miller. Breaking ball foul. He timed that one a little bit better. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Sometimes later in a hitter's career, things will start to click in. Damian Miller is 36 years old. He has never swung the bat like this before. 2-2 pitch. Fouled away. Change up from Bradford, and Castro will go out and talk about it.
Miller trying to stay alive with that cut there. Castro will have a word with his pitcher on the mound as to what comes next here. Miller, as you mentioned, Gary, is a guy that knows him very well. Caught him before. So might know what he's thinking here.
Tom Glavine will pitch Tuesday night in St. Louis. After the Mets finish here, 5-5 in the ninth. There goes Koski. Bounce to third. Right handles this one and throws out Miller. So with Koski in motion on 2-2, would not have been a double play grounder anyway, as slowly as it was hit. But now the potential winning run moves into scoring position for Brady Clark.
And Wright very deliberate on that play, making sure that he had control of it, taking his time to deliver that throw to Delgado after the error on a ground ball by Koski.
So Brady Clark, who had himself a rough day against Pedro, strikeout, pop-up, double play grounder, now faces Bradford with the game on the line. Bradford trying to work around David Wright's error here in the ninth.
Jeff Cirillo has moved out on deck.
First pitch to Clark. Breaking ball popped up. Foul ball beyond the reach. And into the crowd. 0-1. Here's Jeff Cirillo. Veteran infielder in his second tour of duty in Milwaukee and hoping for a turn here in the ninth inning. Koski, the runner at second, not all that swift, and the outfield playing rather shallow against Clark. You got Floyd with the accurate arm in left field. Beltran in center, and Valentin now playing right. And Clark punches one foul, and now Bradford has him in a two-strike hole. It's been a struggle for Brady Clark in 2006 after a magical 2005. Became a starter, an everyday player for the first time. Had a tremendous year, but he got off to a slow start this year, lost his leadoff spot, and is now batting eighth. Been doing better lately, but not today. And now Bradford has him 0-2. Punch to second base, and Matsui picks it off, and we're heading for extra innings. So Bradford does his job, gets Miller and Clark to work around the right error, and we go to the 10th.
Go ahead. Yeah, Gary took off, yeah. I can't hear you there if you're, well, I can hear you now, okay. Yeah, I can, good. Okay. Extras. No. How are we doing, all right? Okay. Right. Right. Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Hey, Wubby. Jesus. You're mixing a few hits every now and then. What we got here on the mound? Lefty is... Okay. De La Rosa, okay. Back here in Milwaukee, extra innings. I'm Ed Coleman for the ailing Keith Hernandez today alongside Gary Cohen. And Jorge De La Rosa is the new pitcher for the Brewers. Left-hander, comes out of the pen for Ned Yost. This will be the 7th pitcher used by Yost today.
J.J. Hardy takes over at shortstop. We go to the 10th inning here in Milwaukee. Ed Coleman subbing for the ailing Keith Hernandez. You didn't know you were going to get a little overtime today.
Overtime, yes, indeed. That's okay. Let them keep playing.
Hey, you and I have done this thing before.
Yes, we have. How many innings have we gone together? 15, I think.
A couple of thousand, maybe.
15 at once might have been tops. We'll see.
The other change for the Brewers, Bill Hall has moved to center field. So they double switch Clark out of the game, and the pitcher will bat 8th. And here's Valentin, who's had the big day again today, and he takes a strike from De La Rosa. Valentin, 2 hits, 4 RBIs last night, 3 hits, 2 RBIs today. It's been a revelation. Has his average up to 263, and the guy he's been subbing for, Cliff Floyd, behind him in the order. Chad Bradford keeping that arm warm. So he may get another inning unless the Mets get the lead, in which case it would be Wagner time. 2-1 to Valentin. Well, we mentioned earlier that the Brewers are carrying 13 pitchers, and it will serve them today. They've used 7.
Ed Yost going to his pen often today.
And Valentin swings through the fastball, 2-2.
Ed Yost used 4 relievers after starter Dana Evelyn left the game yesterday. 3 more on front of him.
There's Turnbow, who blew his first save of the year today after taking the loss last night. 2-2 to Valentin. He fouls it back. Valentin, whose average was struggling to get to 100 not long ago, is now up to 263 with 5 hits in the last 2 days. Willie Randolph making the decision to sit Floyd. It was more about Floyd than it was about Valentin, but Valentin has taken full advantage of the situation. Curveball a little bit high, 3-2. De La Rosa pitched a 1-2-3 inning in last night's game against the heart of the Mets batting order. Struck out both Beltran and Wright. He's got a good arm. Payoff to Valentin, and he lines one to center field, his 4th hit of the game. Jose Valentin has come to Milwaukee and found the fountain of youth. The place where he spent the first 8 years of his career, and he's got 6 hits in his last 7 at-bats. Give that man an extra piece of gum.
He has a lot of friends and family here, and he's given away a lot of tickets this weekend, but I think he's quite happy about that.
So the Mets have the lead run aboard here in the 10th.
He's had quite a weekend here, and Valentin with the stroke back. He really showed very little, if anything.
So now a chance for Floyd, the guy that Valentin has been subbing for. First at bat of the game, and he's a little too quick. Got out just a tad in front of that one and hit it to the upper deck. You think that Cliff was a little anxious?
Just a little bit. I'm going to slow that swing down there a little bit, Slugger. Cliff was jumping all over that one.
The 4 hits for Valentin, tying a career high. Mets now have 9 hits to 5 for the Brewers, tied 5-5 in the 10th. And Floyd breaks his bat. Now, he wasn't using the pink one. He was using the pink one. Well, he may not have another pink one.
Maybe the lone one he has. He goes for more normal lumber this time. But a breaking ball that just fought off.
So much for Pink Floyd. We'll have to settle for Norwegian wood.
Roger Waters anywhere in the house here?
Oh, 2 to Cliff. Curveball in for a call, strike 3. That's a good-looking hook by De La Rosa. One away. So another frustrating at-bat for Cliff.
Cliff knew it, too. It was a good pitch by De La Rosa. cutting the outside corner. Nasty pitch. Set him up pretty good in that at bat.
Just think how that at bat went for Cliff. Way too quick on the first pitch, broke his bat on the second, and got hung out to dry by a curve on the third. Here's Reyes, who's had a very rough day at the plate. He hits one to center. Right there is Hall for the second out. And Reyes now 0 for 6. As Valentin goes back to first, 2 away. So it's left to Matsui. Mets have already left 11 runners on base in this game. They tied it with 2 out in the 9th on an infield single by Nady. Paul nearly made a spectacular play to get him, but Nady was safe at first as the tying run scored. And you could fry eggs on Cliff Floyd's forehead. Here's Matsui, and he ropes one into left field for a base hit. Valentin takes a turn at second, falls down, but Lee had already thrown it in toward third. So Matsui with his second hit of the day, and now the lead run is in scoring position.
Well, a good rip by Matsui there, who has been steadily getting a hit a game as his hitting streak continues. But last 8 games, he has 1 hit per game. This one, 2.
That's a nice trend.
Yes.
So Matsui aboard. The Mets have their 10th hit of the game and a chance for Beltran. Carlos is 0 for 4 and a walk today. Beltran just 2 for 13 in this series, but one of those was a 3-run homer last night. 2 out and 2 on, 5-5 in the 10th. Nothing in 1 to Beltran.
Well, it's a good at bat for Matsui. You wanted that back in the 8th inning when he could have gotten the game to Beltran at that spot. Valentin had gotten aboard with a leadoff single, but Matsui extending the inning here.
Wagner hoping for a save opportunity, and De La Rosa balloons the curveball 1-1.
De La Rosa has a big 12-6 curveball, but he has not gotten that to drop in yet. It's been high with both of the times he has thrown it.
Beltran pops one foul. And now De La Rosa on the front, 1-2.
De La Rosa trying to keep Beltran off balance here. Came in with a fastball there, 94 miles an hour, that Beltran just got a piece of. Curveball before that. See what he comes with here.
Valentin at second, Matsui at first with 2 down. 1-2 to Beltran. Curveball, and he went around, strike 3. So De La Rosa works out of trouble, and Beltran shows his frustration. 3rd time he's been struck out today. They go to the bottom of the 10th, 5-5.
Curveball. Yeah, that's what he comes with.
Still Bradford.
Bradford's still.
We got Hardy, Weeks, and Hall, 3 right-hand batters.
What are they left on? 13 runs?
That would be 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That is correct. You are correct, sir. Okay. Got my mindset on you.
Pink Floyd. I love that.
I stole it. The guy who's doing MLB.com, he had it in his thing today.
Oh, did he? Okay. It's all right.
That's okay.
Good stuff.
Knowing when to work it in.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Three right-hand batters due up for the Brewers in the bottom of the 10th. So Chad Bradford, who got the final 2 outs in the 9th, will stay on. It's Mother's Day, and nobody says that moms have to stay at home and so they can be out dancing.
Bring the kids to the ball game and dance away.
Well, Aaron Heilman, who we figured might not be available today after going 2 innings and throwing over 40 pitches yesterday, is up and throwing now. Pedro went the first 7. Sanchez pitched the 8th, gave up an unearned run. Feliciano faced 2 batters, and now Bradford starts his second inning against J.J. Hardy, who's up for the first time. Hardy came in on the double switch in the top of the inning, now playing shortstop. He's the regular shortstop for the Brewers, but has not been hitting lately. It's a terrific fielder. And so Bill Hall's played short all 3 games of the series. David Wright with another chance, and he throws out Hardy 1 away. So Wright, who made the error in the 9th inning that opened the door for the Brewers, made a subsequent play in the 9th and now gets Hardy for the first out in the 10th.
He's been very stable in the 2 ground balls that have come his way since then. They've been easier chances, but at the same time, David has set himself, made sure he's had the ball. Good strong throw over to Delgado at first.
So here's Ricky Weeks. Weeks has a home run today. In fact, he's homered in each of the last 2 games. In the 8th inning, he sacrificed. Delgado dropped the ball for an error, and that set the stage for the Brewers' go-ahead run. Mets would then tie the game in the 9th.
I think Aaron Heilman warming up will tell you how much Willie Randolph wants this game of the day off heading to St. Louis. Gary, Heilman threw 44 pitches yesterday.
And Weeks punches one. Matsui can't get it. And that's a base hit for Weeks. Will he try for 2? He will. Valentin with the throw. Out at second base. Great hustle by Valentin to get to that ball after Matsui deflected it. And Weeks is out trying to stretch for the second out.
Not a wise move, but a heads-up play by Jose Valentin in right field. Boy, he has brought his all-around game here. Good, strong throw to Reyes.
And you know what he made? He made an infielder's throw.
Yep.
Short-armed the ball, unlike an outfielder. Of course, he's been a shortstop most of his career, and it paid off for him there. So 2 out and nobody on. And here's Hall taking wide. Well, can Valentin do anything else? He made a great catch in left field last night. He's got 6 hits in the last 2 days. Has driven in 6 runs. Made another fine play there. He's making up for a lot of lost time in 2 days.
Got the S on under his uniform, I think.
I think the Mets could play another series here in Milwaukee.
I think he'd like to.
Hall 0 for 3 and a sacrifice. He's dangerous. Has 7 home runs. Hits one in the air to right center field. Back goes Valentin near the wall, and it's out of here! Bill Hall with a game-winning home run.
That is the first home run Chad Bradford has given up this year, and he is a guy who does not give up home runs. And the first one came at a bad time.
Eighth home run of the year for Bill Hall. And the Brewers pull it out in the bottom of the 10th inning, 6-5, to take 2 out of 3 in the series. And so the Brewers, who've been coming from behind all season, survived the Mets coming from behind on a couple of occasions in this game. And they win it in their final turn to drop the Mets to 2-4 on this road trip. And for the second straight Pedro Martinez start, the Mets lose a ball game. They lost in Philadelphia Tuesday night on Heilman's error, and they lose today on the walk-off home run by Bill Hall in the 10th. That's it for Miller Park, where our final score this afternoon in 10 innings is the Brewers 6 and the Mets 5. Be sure to join us on the WB11 for our next Mets telecast Friday at 7 when the Mets play the Yankees. Now for Ed Coleman and Chris Cotter and the L and Keith Hernandez, I'm Gary Cohen. Now stay tuned for Pepper Dennis.